Thanks so much for listening to No Lions Here with me, Big Panda. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to No Lions Here. My name is Big Panda, and I'm a recovering sex addict. Before we jump into today's episode, as y'all can see who's with me today, I do want to give a shout out to my sponsor for this episode and for the podcast in general, Begin Again Institute out in Boulder, Colorado. If you or anyone you know is suffering from sex or porn addiction, definitely go check them out. Their description is going to be in the link below. They're doing amazing work over there. A big part of my story. That was the running start that I needed to get into my own recovery. And I'm just so grateful to still be connected to them and to have their support in all of this. So, definitely go check them out, man, or reach out to me and I can share my experience with them there. So on today's episode, man, I'm super excited to be back in the studio as always. And across from me, man, is my brother in recovery, man, a man of courage, a man of wisdom, a man of faith, a man of just trying to do the next right thing. And, you know, my partner in all of this is we're bebopping around, man, spreading the good vibes in the treatment center, man. And I'm just so grateful. We've been talking about having you come back on for a little while now. So, man, Ricky, welcome back, dude. Three-peat, dude. Three-peat.
It's the three-peat, the backward hat boys.
The backward hat boys, dude. I love it, man.
I'm copywriting that one.
Let's go, dude. Let's go. It's probably, yeah.
It feels good to be back.
So happy to have you back, man. So excited for this episode. And today, you know, we kind of threw around some ideas of, hey, man, you know, what are we going to talk about? And like, I get to like have an experience with that, right? So like you came to me and you were like, hey, what do you want to talk about? What's the topic? And you know, kind of my brand is like, we'll see what it comes up in the moment, you know, like, but also too, why can't we put a discussion on, a label on the discussion? Why can't we, right? So I get to have an experience with that, right? Of like, hey, Ricky wants to be kind of intentional with this. Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. So today's topic is fear, man. We said we wanted to talk about fear, you know, something that I believe, you know, you and I are both kind of going through our seasons right now. And fear is obviously something that is an underlying thing when it comes to addiction in recovery, right? Looking at that fear.
It's a scary thing to look at.
It is, man. So what would you say? So like, there's the different ways that you can like, you know, like that fear, like fuck everything and run. Or the opposite is right, face everything and recover.
Yeah. And also like there's a couple different acronyms on that. Future events already ruined.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one.
There's one that stuck out, right? Because I can be incapable of moving forward due to the results being not to my liking, right?
Yeah.
So I create this dialogue, like we talked about previous to this podcast, is I create this dialogue and this script of this what needs to happen. If it doesn't happen along those lines or anything in between, I'm out.
Yep.
I'm checked out. And it's a scary thing. That's where like faith comes in, right? We weren't lived to experience. We were born to live in faith, right? I knew the stove was hot, right? I knew it cooked food. It cooked food. It made the ramen hot, it made the dinner hot or whatever, but I knew not to touch it, but I touched it anyways.
Yep.
Just multiple times. So I love when somebody had told me that we were born to live by faith, not necessarily just experiences, but yet it's the experiences that I have had in my life that allow me to be where I'm at today, right? I always got results of decisions that I have made. I'm addicted to certainty. I love certainty.
Amen.
Anything uncertain is unfamiliar, and it's an island in its own, and I don't know how to get there, right? So having faith in this process has definitely, encouraged my courage.
Yeah.
That's what I say. And just go, set yourself free, like all that stuff that they talk about, and it's due to the experiences of others. They say that a smart person will learn from their own mistakes, but a truly wise person will learn from the mistakes of others. So it was those things, the mistakes of others, and they said you really don't want to go down that lane, Ricky, or that line, whatever, because this is on the table for you.
Yeah, talking about like that hot stove concept, right? Like there's almost like a level of like distrust there that I have with other people, right? Because people are telling me don't touch the stove. Well, why should I trust you to not touch the stove? So I'm going to touch the stove anyway because I don't trust you, right? And I think all people in recovery, and I mean, I think people in general too, like have those trust issues, just like straight out the gate, right? Like that kind of stems from childhood, right? I couldn't trust my caregivers. So if I can't trust my caregivers, then I can't trust anybody because those are the people that I'm supposed to be able to trust implicitly, no matter what. And yet I don't trust them. So you know what? I'm going to touch that stove because it was almost like that idea of, growing up in this religious background of like, you sin, you're going to go to hell, right? God's going to come down and strike you down, man, right? Well, and then I went to public school and I saw kids cussing. I saw kids dating. And I'm going, they're laughing. They're not getting struck down, right? They're not consumed by the hellfire. So why can't I do it? Why are you guys lying to me about what this stuff's going to do to me? I want to try it.
We get curious.
Right? And we experiment too. I try to tell people all the time, like people are always like, man, I could tell I was an addict at 8 years old. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Like, did it really set in at 8 years old? Like, not necessarily. Like, part of this is experimentation, right? Figuring out who am I? What do I like and what do I don't like? It's experimenting, I want to experiment. I got to figure these things out on my own. I tried them.
What happened?
Well, I kept trying them and I kept going back to them, right? Or maybe that's not somebody else's experience with these things. Maybe they tried it and were like, I don't really like that.
Yeah.
Right? But because my brain was wired a little different, my brain said, that feels good. That feels good. There's consequences here, but man, this feels too good to look at that list of consequences right now. So we're just going to, let's do this. Let's keep going back to this.
Yeah. I remember as a child, they told me that the Flintstone, I love the flavor and the taste of Flintstone vitamins, the cherry to be specific. They not only did they taste good, but they said that they were good for you.
Ooh.
Right. So like I can like realistically look back and me and my twin brother, we had got a whole bottle and we were giving it to the kids on the street and we were taking them and we took too much because I knew that they tasted good. And at the same time, I thought they were good. The more you took, the better you felt. Right. And so we ended up taking a whole bottle. Well, whatever was left. Right. And I'm like, man, I'm going to feel good. I'm healthy, like just distracted by the taste and all that stuff. And we ended up going to the hospital that night to get our stomach pumped because I took too many. Because it was good and it was good for you. And if you took more, the better you felt.
So obviously that had an adverse reaction did you like get sick from that?
We did.
So that's what like stemmed, hey, I got to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, we had got sick. I think we ended up eating like maybe 25, maybe 20 a piece. I don't remember the exact, but somewhere around then I just kept taking them. And the friends were like, I already got one. I don't know when to stop. Like you said, they knew when to stop. I didn't know when to stop. So, I mean, at an early age, it was on and popping from that point.
Yeah.
Like I can look back because I've done some inventories and I've done a little bit of homework and, like I can look back, like it was just never enough. I always wanted to feel better. I always wanted to be somewhere else, wanted to be somebody else. Doing something else, man. And like I can just remember as a kid, man, just doing my best, putting forth my best effort to please you.
Yeah. There's a lot in there. So like I'm reminded of like, right. So eating the 20 Flintstone gummies, right? Because I want to feel good, right? Well, it's almost like early recovery is that bottle of Flintstone gummies, right? Like I think I got to do all the things because I just want to feel good. So now that I'm in recovery, now I feel like I got to drink this whole bottle of recovery right now to feel good, right? Like we're seeing that with our friend, right? This friend of ours, right? This friend of ours, right? Trying to do everything. And this was my experience too. When I got out of treatment, I was like, man, I got to take this whole bottle right now.
1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Right now, I got to take this entire bottle because I'm going to take this entire bottle and I'm going to feel good. So therefore, I am dying to feel good. So let me take this entire bottle
because I need it now.
Because I need it now. I have to, I'll do whatever I can. I'm all in on something that's going to make me feel good right now. And so I got to take that entire bottle.
And it, like, you know, I see it a lot in the treatment center, scatterbrain, you know, like a lot of them want to pick this up but not willing to hold on to it, you know, when things get tough. You know, and some people that came before me held on to it long enough to let me know that it does get better and this too shall pass, right? More will be revealed. Like, I just put the drugs down. Give me a break. Last thing I needed was my back kicked in for you to tell me to sit down and shut the fuck up, right? Because that's what the dope dealer told me to do. I don't want to hear it. You know, nobody talked to me as reckless as the dope dealer did, you know? And again, we were talking about the echoes, right? And those still play a part. And I still find a little bit of evidence of how I respond to things when the dope man would tell me no, and how I could respond some things that aren't to my liking. What do you mean? I've been waiting here for an hour and a half. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for you for an hour and a half. You told me you were on your way 20 times. It sounds like you're in a bathroom. It don't even sound like you're in a car, right? And I'm just waiting. But wasn't a feeling like that when the dope man finally showed up, right? And I kind of tie that into my recovery is wasn't a feeling like when there was an awakening taking place, when my perspective has changed a little bit of fear there, but they told me to sit down, sit tight. And if we want to know how to use, we'll call on you, right? So they said that in the best way possible. Not that I didn't speak up, but with my good Sharon 30 days having ass, you know, like running myself out of a meeting, right? I just shared what I knew. I shared my using story, and that's all I knew at that point, right? And I thought that's what people wanted to hear. I thought that's people closer to my clean time wanted to hear. And yeah, they got out of it. And I heard all that, like, ooh, Rick, share that good stuff. Ooh, share that good stuff. And some predecessors would pull me to the side after the meeting and said, look, Rick, we love you enough to tell you that you're going to share yourself right out of these meetings. We don't want to hear all that. We told you if we want to know how to get high, we'll call on you. You know, let this be a safe place. Like, we too, we understand. The back of the key tag says NA welcome, and on the front it says just for today. If you flip it to the side, it says just try. If you take the first word and the last 3 letters of each word, it says just try. Just try. Just for today. And that's what I did. I gave myself a break. And a lot of fear there, right? Oof.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, I thought it was just the drugs.
I thought this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? I'm trying to take these suggestions. Well, the way that I interpret suggestions is my own will and my own way. And I'm not yet far enough removed to have a different perspective to hear these in a different light. So therefore, I have to and you hear this a lot, man. Like, you hear this a lot from people that go out to meetings and they're like, well, I didn't like that meeting because all people were doing was just sharing their war stories, you know? People oftentimes forget, especially fresh out of rehab, right? All the groups that they sit in, these meetings that they sit in, informational, right? It's the brain science. It's these things. Well, people go to meeting thinking that they're going to get educated on the addiction. Well, you're not going to get educated on the addiction because not everybody's been through the education that you are, right? Not everybody in those rooms have been to rehab, right? And got to sit through 30 days of hearing somebody else's experience and hearing the science behind addiction. So no, meetings are not a place where you're going to find that intellectual knowledge necessarily on recovery, right? Yeah. And then people get turned away from it because they're like, well, I'm just hearing war stories.
It's not doing anything to my thinking. I'm still thinking the way that I was, still urgent, right? Not that I necessarily use, but the certainty that if I do, like, we just want to know. We just want to know. I shared, like, before we started the podcast, I was going through some stuff in my life. And at that time, this was before a relapse. You know, I had 4 years and I ended up relapsing. Well, right before I had relapsed, I'd asked somebody to do a tarot card reading on me. Right? I just want to know. I was going through a lot of insecurities at that time in my life. And it was crazy how accurate, like, these were Big Lot tarot reading cards from Big Lots. For those of you who don't know what Big Lots is, it's one of my favorite stores ever. I don't know what it is. It's something about the atmosphere, the colors, but I love Big Lots. But all I did was shuffle the cards and got my reading read. And I got the worst cards in the deck. And they say, Ricky, this is This is not good. And it sparked the fear in me to stop. And at that point, I ended up relapsing. I checked into the psych ward clean. Just wanted to know, why won't my brain stop? And so, like, I always tied it, like, when I was going through my divorce, check this out. I would drive by one of those psych reading places, right? And I'll never forget, it had the open sign on, but it blinked, right? And it almost looked like a trap house. I was like, man, this sketchy is all get out. But anyways, we're going to try it anyways, right? Because we just want to know. And I remember pulling into that parking lot, and I remember like going to knock on the door and nobody was there. And at this point, I just wanted to know. I was talking to my wife at the time. I'm like, I'm going to a psychic to see what's going on. And nobody was there. And I remember Googling the place, the phone number of the place. And I remember calling this person, and this person couldn't be there for an hour and a half. And I said, could you just do it over the phone?
Ooh.
Let's just do it over the phone. I'll tell you all about me. You got 20 minutes, like, let's get a reading. And thank God he didn't show up. And thank God he didn't do that reading on me. Because what was stirring up inside of me was the information that I needed in order to get what I needed to get, in order to do what I had to do, in order to move forward. Turns out my gut was right, right? When you ask God for something, just be prepared for the answer, right? It might not be to your liking. We're not always going to get what we treat God like a Santa Claus or a pet, as if I got this Christmas list on what I need from God. And God, I need this right now. And recovering addict, I need this right now. Sponsor, I got 5 of them. I'm asking all 5 of them the same thing. And I'm getting 3 of the answers aren't to my liking, but the 2 are. And I think I'm just scattered all over the place. And the 3 that aren't to my liking is usually the information that I need to receive.
Yeah.
The other 2 are kind of just going with it. The other 2 are like, dude, just get to a meeting, go, like, check on some step work, feel what you got to feel. This too shall pass. Like, I don't want to hear that. I want to know. Fear. What do we say? Future evidence, all future events already ruined. Already. I put myself over here and I don't even know what's over there.
Yep.
It's my life. It's my life. So I have to get something in. I have to get in touch with something intangible. And it started with the serenity prayer. And I remember hearing other people's spiritual experiences. And I remember hearing spiritual guidance and spiritual podcasts. And I just wanted to know, and I could relate to these people. And they shared my experience. They shared their first sexual experience was my first sexual experience. So it took that to relate a little bit. Okay. The wheels are turning. Okay. Here's some solution here, right? And I remember being in the back of the room, and then I slowly started to move to the front of the room because I was always attracted to the newcomer. I wanted the newcomer. I was a dog. It was something about what they shared. And I want to share the spiritual experiences that I've had, the fingerprints of the God of my understanding working in my life. And so my twin brother's sponsor was passing away from cancer he's had it. Would be the 3rd time, right? And he knew, and I just want to put this small little detail in there, is that he knew that he wasn't going to make it, right? And he would go to church and he would sit in the front pew and he would just throw his hands up and he would just praise. And eventually he ended up in a home on hospice, and I would go, and he was on chemo and his hair was falling out, and it was falling out in patches. So he asked me to come over and he would shave his head. Good moments. I have pictures of it. I look back at how God was responding to me, and he ended up passing away. But I asked him this question. I said, are you scared to die? He said, no, because I get to meet the man that I talk to every day. So to spin that perspective, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. Right. But the question came from a place of fear. Like, like, really, you're not really scared to die? And I believed him. There was a part of me that believed him. Anyways, he ended up passing away a couple of weeks later. And I remember I was driving and I received the information that he had passed away. And the time that I got to spend with him was remarkable, right? I got a different perspective. We would study the word a little bit. But I remember pulling off to the shoulder of the road and gave myself some time to process and have conversations with him. One thing I asked him, right, and I'll never forget, I said, if you made it up there, let me know. And how are you doing? How is it up there? And so I pull off the shoulder of the road and I go into Walmart's parking lot and I pull in the parking spot and I get out. And as I'm walking into Walmart, there's a dime, and the reflection from the sun is so profound. It's grabbing my attention. I have to go pick this up. So I go pick it up. I move a little further forward and there's another dime, and the sun's doing the same thing. And so I pick it up, and before I hit the door, I catch another dime, and it's doing the same thing. And I pick all three of them up. And so I go in, I do my grocery shopping, and I come out. You know how we just want to know again. So what do you think I did? I Googled it. I Googled, what does it mean when you find dimes? And it says somebody that just passed away is letting you know that they're okay. You can look it up. So like, it's just fingerprints like that. So when awakening was taking place, I know there's something working on my behalf, and everything that's removed from my life is removed from my life. There's a reason. They say people come into your life for a reason and season or lifetime. He invited me into his relationship with the God of his understanding, which it just created character for the God of my understanding. It created some love, even though he was going to pass away. What was so important to him was that who he was going to meet when he passed. And he met me with the message that I am okay and I made it. You know, stuff like that. I did group yesterday, and I was listening to this podcast, and it was a 7-year-old little boy. And this 7-year-old little boy was being interviewed by his dad. And this 7-year-old little boy had cancer. And the dad asked him this question, well, why? If God is so good, why did he give you cancer? And the little boy said, because I'm special. He said, doesn't that make you mad at God? He goes, no, it makes me happy because he didn't give it to my sister Emma or Maddie. And he's using Emma and Maddie to help me. Talking about a 7-year-old boy, you know? And he said, man, the dad ended up crying. And he was like, you know why daddy's crying? And he said, yeah, because you're sad. And he told his dad, you know, everything's going to be okay because God's involved. So when I get a perspective from a 7-year-old, his relationship, right? And no, I'm not like being religious by any means, but I know that there's something greater than all of this. There's something greater than all of this. If I was handpicked to be in recovery, by all means, I was handpicked to be in recovery. I'm here to carry a message. You are here to carry a message. You got a podcast. You got a platform. You do this. You're effective in what you do. When you do groups, like, people get things out of it. People celebrate the fact that Ricky and Alex are doing group today. You know, when you walk into the group and people are like, oh, here they come. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. It's not on some validated purposes, but it's like, my work is effective. What I'm doing, it's effective. Like, they're coming up for air. We're getting ready to get good. I know when I go to one of your groups, I know I'm going to get a little bit more information. We connected on that level, right? I listened to you when you did the 10-minute exercise of just being quiet. I'm like, oh shit, it's getting ready to get real loud. But you told us to be quiet. And what I mean is, it's getting ready to get loud in my head. And you said, don't try to run from what's going on in your head. Just be still and sit with it. I ain't got to run from it because I've been trying to run from it my whole life. I don't have to ignore it. Like, ignoring it just creates this kind of, when you said be quiet, you know what kicked in? Fear. Well, here we go. Pink said it in one of her songs, "A quiet place scares me because it screams the truth." You know, screams the truth. And I'm like, dude, I know it's quiet right now, but it's getting ready to be so loud. And I did this little exercise in my group yesterday, and I said, everybody scream your name at the top of your lungs in your head. Don't scream it out loud. Scream your name at the top of your head. I'm like, I can't hear you. I said, are you guys screaming? They said, yeah, we're screaming. But one of the clients was like, dude, I don't know how to do this. And I'm like, see, we complicate things. See, we complicate it. I don't know how to do this. And I said, just scream your name at the top of your lungs in your head. You don't have to do it. Right? And so everybody was doing. I said, everybody hear that? Said no, and it was real quiet. And I said, all right, well, tell it to whisper now. And they're telling it to whisper, and it's getting real soft. I have a little bit of control on what's going on in my head, right? I didn't tell it. I didn't tell them to run from it. I didn't tell them to try to escape. I said to acknowledge it. Hey, why don't you tell it to whisper? Like,
okay, all right. So now we're back in.
I'm on the right now, but okay.
That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. We're back.
Was all that cut out?
I don't think so.
I was on my spiritual life.
I don't think so. I don't think it was this. I mean, this program does a really good job of keeping up with things. So we're just gonna keep on running through it, man. Yeah, you know, like that idea of like, all right, sit quietly with yourself, because like I believe that that's like the work that we need to do, right? Because like I can't physically, I can run from my problems. Physically, I can. Mentally, I cannot. Right? Because they're still up here. Right? I can remove myself, right? I think this is a reason of why like people don't say like, hey, don't, because we hear this a lot, right? Like, I'm just going to pick up and I'm just going to move. I'm going to move away from the people, places, and things, right? Now, is that all bad? Man, maybe not. But like, let's address what's going on in here first and up here first, because that's the work that we need to be doing, right? You know, people, I hear this all the time. People are like, well, it's like, what are you going to do when you get out? I'm going to stay busy. Well, we got to be careful with that. We got to be careful with that, because if I'm too busy, because I've done this, right? I'm too busy to sit quietly with myself. I am too busy to give myself 2 minutes out of my day to sit quietly to figure out what is going on inside, because I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid to sit quietly with myself because I don't like myself enough, because I'm afraid that all of these things are going to pop up. And it's like, okay, so what? They're going to pop up no matter what. They're there whether I sit with them, and they're there whether I'm trying to stuff them down, because I'm still trying to stuff them down no matter what. So like, let me just sit quietly with myself and not run from these things. It's okay. You're okay. You know, that's where the name of, there's no lions here. Nothing in my head is going to kill me.
In the history of all feelings.
In the history of all feelings,
no one has ever killed anybody.
Not one has ever killed anybody.
It's the action that I take.
It's the action.
It's the movement that I do.
So like, but again, I'm too afraid to, right? I'm too afraid to address the actual problem, which is me. So therefore, I put all this stock into these external things, right? The bottle of Flintstones, right? I use the external to try to fix me, when in reality, sometimes I just need to shut up, sit quietly with myself, because that's where the work is. Let me become friends, right? People always talk about like, I got to kill this addict. Well, I'm the addict. That's a part of me.
Don't hurt me.
Right? Don't hurt me. But like, let's almost like make friends and understand that part of us.
Like it's okay.
Like it's okay.
They speak of it as like it's some sort of separate entity.
Yeah.
Like I had, before we had pulled in this parking lot, like I put my disease in the trunk and shut it until I get back in my car. No, I was questioning myself. Am I good enough on the walk into this room? Is this going to be effective? Am I good enough? And I'm just, like what I used to do before I would share, I would listen to a speaker and I would write down and I would verbatim try to like imitate this person, right? Which is flattering, right? But I remember just trying, I just want them to like me.
Yeah.
Just like me, do with my profound ass. Like
yes.
And I have to remove myself from that because I'm not giving you me.
Yeah.
I'm of course I get tied into my story, but at the end of the day, I was not giving you me.
Yeah.
And you asked me to come on the show, so I'm going to give you me.
Yeah.
This is me. I'm a little afraid right now. Talking about, I was scared. We talk about fear. I was fear of walking in here. I'm just going to be me. We prayed before we started this. God, just sit with us. God will sit and stand at the same time, right? One thing somebody told me is God is way more humble than I am. God can see around the corner. I can see down the street. God is so big. God is so big, right? I think I'll get with that. Yeah, he's not on the opposite team. I have to remember that he is like for me. I didn't end up where I was by myself. Yeah, he used some recovering addicts and he used somebody else's experience. But at the end of the day, I take no credit. This is a relationship. These are letters. These are conversations. These are like not being able to say anything, yet God still already knows. He knows that I'm thinking this stuff. He knows that I'm lusting. He knows that I got a porn problem. He knows. Somebody was like, well, if God's real, why is there so much suffering? And somebody was like, well, remove God out of this and there's still suffering.
Yeah.
Well, I think you said it the other day is I think I'll rather believe while I'm alive and find out that it was all a joke when I die. It was all a joke. I think I'll sit here and I'll believe in something because that's what they said.
Yeah.
I think I'll believe in something.
It's just like, and it's as simple as that, right? Like, I think I'll believe. I don't have to know exactly what it is that I believe in. Come on, baby.
Backward hat boy. We go.
Come
there
on
we go.
with
I
it.
see
Come
you.
on
You see
with
me.
it. I see you. You see me. Intimacy. Into you, I see. Man, fear.
So what is Alex scared of?
Man, Alex is afraid of, The biggest thing, right, is like, am I making the right decisions in my life? Like, man, that's such a good question. I'm afraid that, I'm afraid that I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough to make the things happen that I want to happen in my life, right? Well, what are those things that you want to happen, Alex? Are they what Alex wants, or are they what God wants, right? Because I get wrapped up in that, man. I think, this is what Alex wants. Well, what Alex wants isn't the best for Alex right now, you know? And I'm afraid that, like, I'm not doing the research, right? That I'm not running things through the recovery gauntlet that I have, right? Because I can get stuck in that, right? I can get stuck in that recovery gauntlet of, well, I need to overanalyze this. Where's this coming from? Why am I doing this? Is this a compulsive thing? Is this an impulsive thing? Yeah, man, I'm afraid that I'm going to lose people too. Right. So, like, the biggest thing that I got going on right now, right, is like this whole idea of moving and living with Beanie. Right. And in that, my fears are I'm leaving my support network. Right. I'm moving an hour away from my support network. I'm moving an hour away from my routines. Because I'm moving away from everybody, now I don't have anybody. So I'm afraid that even though I'm physically moving, everybody's going to be like, sorry, man, you're too far away. We can't be friends anymore.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. What am I going to do for a job? I don't know. What am I going to do? How am I going to make money? I got to make money. How am I going to make money? Am I going to make enough money? Are my bills going to be covered? Am I going to find that thing down in a new area that I can do when I'm feeling a certain type of way? Right? Here I got my routines, right? I got my treadmill at home. I got my, hey man, can you hang out? Hey, can we go grab a cup of coffee? Like, do I have those? I don't have those things down there, right? What's the thing that Alex gets to do? She's got her things, but what are the things that Alex has to do? And that scares like the shit out of me, man. Scares the shit out of me.
Well, you gave yourself, a year, I love that you brought that up. I love that resurfaced in you. And I don't know if it was a part of your network that had reminded you of that, but you created that I'm going to give myself this time. Right. And I love that was brought back up to you. Just a reminder, right?
Yeah.
God's got a plan.
Yeah. And then I'm afraid to share my fears, right? I'm afraid to share my fears, right? Like the other night, I shared my fears with my partner, right? And that was super scary, man. Super scary. Like, asking for something that I need scares me a lot because I don't think that I'm worth it. I don't think that I'm going to be heard, right? I have this, it's so funny because I have conflicting data, right? I have conflicting data. I have data that says, no, Alex, you're going to be heard and you're going to be received. And then I have this much older set of data that says, that's more grooved, and that says you're not going to be heard. So here I am conflicted between the two sets of data that I have, right? If I look at all this data over the last 4 years, well, that's only 4-year-old data versus 25-year-old data, right? And so, I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, because this is what happens, right? Is I'm putting all this pressure on myself right now. All of this pressure I have to figure this out, and I have to figure it out by yesterday. Not even today. I was supposed to have this, right? I was supposed to have this figured out by 2:00 yesterday. Well, who put that expectation on you, Alex? Nobody in your network. I put that expectation on myself, right? So then when it comes time to even speaking up about it, of saying, hey, I'm feeling really afraid right now. I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself because of the fear, right? Because there's this whole idea that I have to have it figured out right now. I have to have this, I have to know. And so, like, even like bringing that up to my partner in the sense of like, hey, we got brought up the other night on the phone, and I was like, hey, by the way, I need to talk to you about this, right? And she was like, okay. She's like, I feel like I did something wrong. And I was like, you didn't. This is me. And I said, hey, I want to pump the brakes on some of these conversations until after our vacation in July. We're going on vacation together in July. And she didn't, and her initial response was quiet, like shut down, like fear. Alex is unsure, right? That's what she heard. She heard Alex is unsure of this relationship and unsure of where this relationship is going. So therefore, I need to start. Man, we were on this track, and now all of a sudden the car is derailed and the car is wrecked, and Alex is now hitchhiking. I'm afraid of other people's internet
there
now.
You are.
There we are. I'm back. I'm back, man.
There you are. It froze again.
Your stuff is uploading. Your stuff is good. My stuff is not. Okay. I'm going to close out some of these other things, and maybe you're taking up some of the power. Okay. All right. So, yeah, man, so I brought that up to her, and, you know, I felt good in voicing something that I needed because I was afraid. And it was really, you know, and so like I felt good in the moment of bringing this up to her, right? I didn't like her response, right? But I understood her response and totally fine, right? I just kind of hit you with something that you weren't expecting. I wasn't following the script that she had, right? Because we all have them, right? You and I were talking about this before the show. Like, we all have these subconscious scripts that are going on in our head at all point in time. Now, they're so subconscious that I don't realize that I have the script until after the situation, and then I'm butthurt, right? I'm like, oh, ow. Well, yeah, Alex, you had an expectation there. And then the whole next day, like, and I'm grateful for her that she's healthy enough. She texted me the next morning. I remember waking up the next morning, and I was irritated and I was frustrated with her. Like, why can't you see this from my point of view? Why aren't you giving me the grace and that I think that I deserve this righteousness stuff? And, you know, that was misplaced, right? That was misplaced. And she reached out to me and she said, hey, like, I'm angry. However, I need to sort through what is a trauma response and what is justified frustration, right? And I'm really grateful that I have a healthy enough partner that she can say that to me. Right. But it didn't mean what that meant was now I got to go all day in this uncomfortable spot of where is she even sitting? Right. And then my fears is, so we went to couples counseling yesterday and we talked about this. And it was really good, man. Like, and this is the first time seeing this counselor. And she was like, man, you guys did a great job on the repair end of things. You guys did a great job. And she was like, Alex, in that moment when she was quiet, what's going on with you? And I'm like, I was okay in that moment because, like, I knew, like, hey, she needed to process. You know, I can give her that. She just gave me some space to hear me. Because sometimes in those moments, like, I need time to process. But then the fear kicked in. When we hung up the phone and I'm laying in bed alone and things are quiet, that's the work, the challenges that I have is now I'm laying in bed running through the gauntlet of fear and did I do this in the right way? I didn't check this up. I didn't call my sponsor and talk to him about this conversation before. I didn't ask a program friend. I didn't necessarily pray about it in that moment. Like, man, now the fear response is now let me crawl back on my hands and knees to my partner and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I didn't mean it. I didn't, and it's like, well, hold on, Alex, because there's this other conflicting side of me that's going, Alex, like, you voiced a need. You voiced a need. And what is my fear? My fear is if I voice a need, my need's not going to be heard. It's not going to be met.
And she had one too.
Right. So that's almost like the work for me is like in the quiet, right? That's why I love the quiet, because that's where the work is. It's in the quiet. It's not, the work's in the meeting rooms and going to the meeting and sharing these things. However, a lot of the work is in the quiet.
We're sitting last night and it was real quiet. And this is when I do usually. So it's not what I do as far as action wise, but these are the things when it's real quiet. This is when it gets real. I get real, real dangerous. I start to think inappropriate things. And my brain tells me that you have to do something to cope with this when it's real quiet. Because I tell myself, oh, you're not even going to go to sleep, so you might as well do this to go to sleep. You'll get some sleep if you do this, because Ricky, you really can't sit with this, right? Because past experience says that you do this when this happens. So that's when my body goes, well, you got to do this and you got to do that, because that's like the automatic response. When it's quiet, I love when you said when it's quiet. What happens before a tornado comes?
It's quiet.
It's quiet.
Ooh.
things get real still, right? And I don't have to be a wrecking ball today. It's not a tornado. I am the tornado. The quiet is still like, be still and know. And I didn't do anything inappropriate last night. You know, as we talked about it, right? We just want it. We just want the response.
I just want the response.
I was left on red. Anybody ever felt like they were left on red when they prayed this certain prayer, like treating God like Santa Claus, and I didn't get the gift? Or it came, it didn't come as requested. It was in a smaller box. It didn't come. It was wrapped different. The paper was different. Like, but I have those experiences all the time. I wake up and sometimes I don't trust. I don't. And so I get with a gratitude list and I start to identify things that surround me that, or internalize, because I thought recovery started from the outside in. Recovery is from the inside out. You could really see what's going on if I'm always fancy and always do this. And I like perfumes. I love to smell good. It's added confidence. But sometimes it's like, man, I just want to be noticed. Somebody smell me.
Yeah.
Right? And then a client came up and smelled me the other day. I'm like, don't smell me. No.
When it's like, that's all that I wanted is to be smelled.
You know? But it's like, that's inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, they're like, man, Ricky, you smell good. What do you got on today? But you can't, don't be inappropriate. It deep down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Deep down, I'll share with you how difficult it was when I first started in the recovery field. I don't need to like replay that.
Right.
It was difficult.
Yep.
I had to move through some challenges. I didn't act out when all my brain wanted to do. My body is attached to a brain that doesn't give a damn about me. It doesn't. And so sometimes I just need to move with some faith. We talk about faith and sometimes we talk about God like it's some pet. And like, I woke up today feeling some kind of way, talked to somebody on the phone. It didn't go the way I thought. I feel played. I feel this, I feel that. And I continue with my day. I went to the gym. I knew the topic today was fear. I've been praying a lot today. I dropped my son off at school for his last day of school. Yesterday, I dropped him off at school. I got a sponsee that his dad is on hospice. And so I turned the radio down and I asked my son to pray out loud for this family. And my son's response was like, no. He goes, okay. And he started to pray. And so after he got the family out of the way and, you know, the dude's dad or whatever, he said, God, I just want a better understanding. Don't we ask that? You know, God, give me a sign. I'm just having trouble understanding. Help me be good at school. You know, help me be nice on the playground. Make sure my dad gets home safe. Make sure my dad makes it to work safe. Like these are little things. I can have these great big conversations with God when all he wants to do is for me to acknowledge him. There's something about acknowledging him that just brings me sort of a relief. God is a deep breath. God is such a deep breath. You know, that good feel. Ooh. I'm going to share another story on some fingerprints from God. Did I ever tell you my cat story?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And even if you did,
we're getting good.
Just share it on the podcast, man.
So it's tangible to the whole dime thing, right? It's kind of like in that realm. And I was moving out of the sober living that I was down in Springfield, Missouri at. And I've always been like a cat dude. And so I wanted a cat. And so for the first time, me and my twin are going to get an apartment together. He had the apartment. His roommate relapsed, so he's got a room available. Let's roll. I've always wanted to live with you. And I remember I couldn't stand his ass because he was always in the way. I was always compared. You know, like being a twin is just inevitable. That's just what we're going to do. But I remember I wanted this cat. And I wanted this specific cat. And I wanted a gray cat with a white chest. And I have the cat in my phone. I got a picture of the cat if you want to see it. And so eventually I move in. And at that point, I was traveling from Springfield to St. Louis to pick up my son and go visit him. And so when I get there one day, I look on the Humane Society website and I'm looking for a gray cat with a white chest. And I'm scrolling, blah, blah, blah. And I see one. I remember I'm praying about this. And so I called the Humane Society and I'm like, yeah, I want that cat with the I want that gray cat with the white chest. And they said, it's too young to adopt. Can you wait a couple weeks? I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay.
Can we wait? The W word. I feel welcomed, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm welcomed, but can I wait? It's a different ball game. Can you wait? Can you wait a couple weeks?
I'm sure the script there for you was like, I'm going to call And they're going to be like, yeah, man, can you come down today? Get this cat?
Yeah. Because me and my son are sitting there, we're scrolling. There it is, Dad. There it is.
We found it.
Yeah, we found it.
We found
It's
it.
a God thing. Oh, it's a God thing. You know, it just happened to be on my phone, whatever it is. But so I was too young to adopt. And no, I didn't like kick and scream. I was like, okay, well, she said the W word, right? Why don't we just wait a little bit? The cat will be here. And so I give it a couple weeks and I'm praying on it. I'm like, if it's for me, it'll happen, right?
Yeah.
Check this out. I'm praying and I'm at work and I'm on my lunch break and it's 2:00 and I'm at the microwave. I put my food in the microwave, press the little button, it starts to cook. I look over and there's a window like this and there's a gray cat with a white chest standing in the parking lot just looking at me, 6 weeks old. That cat tells me to hold on, wait, just wait. And his name was Bobby. And Bobby was a dick. Bobby loved me. Bobby loved Ryan, which is my twin brother. But anybody else, he really didn't get comfortable with. He was the rude cat that would wait, hide, in like between the couches. And when you walked, he would pap you, right? But what that cat told me is to wait. And that cat would come to me and it would love on me. And it tells me that God hears you. And I've never had something other than outside of the dime thing be so detailed in my life. No, God doesn't not always detailed like that. But when you ask for a gray cat with a white chest and the lady on the other line of the phone says, just wait, that means God's telling you just to wait. I got something for you. It's not this cat. It's the cat that you're just going to pull up on you and stare at you like he's Michael Myers. Like it was some weird shit. I got the picture and the cat looks evil, but it was just sitting at me and he was like, here I am. So I ended up taking the cat home. It didn't, fortunately, it didn't come back to St. Louis with me. But if you're listening, shout out to Bobby.
Shout out to Bobby. Shout out to Bobby the cat.
Just tells me to wait.
Just wait, man. Man, thanks for sharing that story, dude. And it's what I love in the perspective today around these things is that my life is full of the Bobby moments, full of them, right? It's full of the Bobby moments, but I don't take the time to reflect on those things, right? Like for instance, I got, with the podcast, man. And so here's another fear of mine is like, what am I doing with the podcast? My motivation hasn't been up, right? For a long time, man, like my motivation was like run and gun. Let's go. Let's stack guests. Let's stack content. Let's push, right?
Busy.
Because my expectation was the harder I push at this, the quicker I'm going to get bigger, the quicker the money's going to come in, right? And this is going to solve some of my problems, right? Well, then it got to the point where I was like, why? Don't spin yourself out, Alex. Like,
well, what'd you start this for?
Right. I got to remember, what did I start this for? I started this to share the message. Are you still sharing the message, Alex? Yes.
What message are we sharing?
Hope.
Of
a better way of life.
I'm not picking on you. I just want to
No.
We're
I
just
appreciate
getting
it.
into why I created this. Yeah, like material success is cool, right? I'm on a platform. I do this, and now I'm validated. But I have to remember my experience and why I started recovery. Why I thought it was a specific substance. No, it wasn't. That was just the symptom of it. If I don't address the system, I'll always the obvious. I shot dope. I got marks to prove it. Like I don't need to show you my fucking marks. But it's like, why did you really start this?
Yeah, man. And it's there's an irony in it too of like being wanted to be heard. Right. So I go and I start a podcast where it's just me talking into a microphone.
Who did you want us to hear?
Alex. I wanted y'all to hear who Alex is. Alex is a good dude.
He is.
Alex, plain and simple, right? I don't even need to go any deeper than that, right? Alex is a good dude.
Just because I think some things.
And
it's inappropriate sometimes. I love when you pull up on me like, Ricky, I need to talk to you right now about this. And it's real urgent. And it makes sense. It's cool. You just want to get it out.
I just want to get it out.
Because if I don't, it's on and popping. And what's cool is that me and you have found some safety.
Yes.
In each other, man. And that's what I love, the connection that we have made. It was your authenticity that was so attractive. I remember when I walked in IRC for the first time, it was in the back door. And here comes this dude with the long hair and the hat on. And I'm like, all right, he's a client. Right. And then I got into your group and I'm like, okay. And then were doing the men's group on Sunday.
Yes.
And I was like, bet. All right. And we had a couple men to join. I'm like, all right, I'm about the men's group, right? We can eliminate the distractions regardless of what they look like. You know, and when I mean distractions, I mean the women, right? We can eliminate the distractions. We can get to the root, because I see the fruit, but I want to get to the root, because not all tree bears good fruit.
Right.
So the fruit is an indication on the root, right? And like, you teach me to be appropriate. You teach me that when I'm feeling inappropriate, you teach me that you are somebody safe that I can go to. That's what I love. We don't find that. I feel safe in taking a risk, the risk with you, because I know there's a reward on the other side of that. I called you yesterday on the highway because I knew I called somebody else, and then I called somebody else, and then I was led to you, right? Not that you were third picked, but like, it was like, this is who I need to talk to. And I remember you were cutting the grass, and I was like, okay, he doesn't want to talk. I mean, he's probably trying to hear my bullshit, whatever. But like, you were willing to talk. Yeah. And you gave me some good advice. And you didn't tell me yes, and you didn't tell me no. And that's what I wanted to hear. But what the lady on the other line at the Humane Society say?
Just wait.
Just wait.
Just wait. She didn't give you a yes. She didn't give you a no, right? Like, and I get so spun up in my own relationships because, like, right, I'm so afraid that I just need somebody else to tell me what to do, right? And it's not wrong for us to ask of that either, right? Like, let's put that out there too, right? Like, it's totally okay to say, hey, man, because, and you know, I even made a joke when we were on the phone, right? You were like, what should I do? And I was like, Ricky, I started talking about your courage and like, hey, man, you didn't get to where you're at because you sat still. You got to where you're at because you made moves. You moved through the fear. Yeah, all right, you're bumping up against something scary right now. Well, Ricky, you can move through this. Whatever happens, you're going to be okay because you have this data that you've done this before with something else that was just as scary, and you moved through it, and now look at you, right? Like, we didn't get to where we're at because we have a lack of courage. Yeah. We actually have way more courage than we ever give ourselves credit for, right? And so after I got done in this...
Come on.
I laugh because it's so funny, because it's like, because I get it. Because there's times where I'm you on the other end of the phone going, okay, yeah, I hear the good things you're saying to me. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But like, yes or no? Yeah. And like it was funny because I had to laugh, and I appreciate that we can laugh about that. And like, I was like, oh, okay, man. All right, yo. So that's what all right, okay. You know, like, but it's funny because we get so caught up in like the yes or no's, right? And like, and I can totally relate to that, man. I can totally, because there's times where like I'm going into a phone call with somebody thinking, all right, I need to get an answer around this. And then I get off the phone and I go, I didn't get that fuck. What the, but right. But I got things to chew on. I got things to think at. I think about, I got things to look at, right? Like, it's so much more to me. It's sometimes it's more about like, all right, I need to chew on some things for a second before I make this. But also too, like, hey man, you did the deal, right? You're doing the deal. You made the phone call and you talked about something that was scary. And
then when we hung up, I asked Siri heads or tails, you know, like, so it's like, I still wanted to know, right? Like, the fear,
man. It's, and then it's what's fine. What's like almost having that answer. Cause I can even like specifically relate to the circumstance that you were sharing with me. Right. I've been in that situation.
And you told me about it.
And I told you about it. Right. And like, people around me were like, hey man, if you want to do it, do it. And even with the, yeah, man, do it. It was still like, even being validated in that, it was still like, oh, this is scary. Well, this is scary.
It was the scariest thing.
So scary. Because, right? Because the situations we're talking about, we won't go into detail of it, but it's like, what's on the other end of that situation is rejection. It's rejection. And I am so terrified. So here's an interesting thing that like I pieced together a couple years ago was like, so I'm so afraid of rejection, right? Rejection is fear, right? The fear of I'm not good enough, right? I'm so afraid of other people rejecting me. So afraid. Yet in my mind, with the way that I talk to myself, I reject myself on a daily basis. So here I am, so terrified of other people's rejection, yet at the same time, I'm rejecting myself on a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis. I am rejecting myself. I don't want to do that to myself anymore. Buying into those tapes of I'm not good enough.
Which is what?
Which is like, no, you shouldn't do that, Alex. Well, why shouldn't I? Well, you haven't done enough around it yet. You haven't done enough digging. I have, though. I have done the digging. I've had the conversations. I spent 4 months talking about this one action that I want to take, and all it was just it was just an action, right? And an action that I'm not in control of, though, too, right? That's the other thing too. Is like, what am I? I'm not in control of how somebody else responds to me. I'm not.
Like I heard some sort of controller.
I don't. Right. All I can handle is myself. Right. So I reject myself by saying, no, you're not good enough to be involved in that conversation. So I'm not even going to go interact with that person because I'm not good enough to be in their vicinity. And then what I do in that is I'm putting people on pedestals. I put people on pedestals. I'm not smart enough to be involved in this conversation. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. And one day these people are going to see that. They're going to see through me that I'm not good enough.
I'm some sort of facade.
And they're going to be like, oh, I can't believe I trusted that dude with that stuff. Yeah. He is not good enough to have that information. They're not thinking that at all. I'm thinking that, right? So I'm rejecting myself in that way of thinking. But now I'm the source of my own rejection, right? Nobody around me is a source of rejection in my life. I today am the biggest source of rejection in my life.
So who do I need to get with?
Me. I need to get with me, right? And, and God's involved in this and talking about like where I was kind of going with this earlier was like, I've got these fears around the podcast. Am I doing enough? Right? Am I doing enough? Am I, man, I'm not putting out enough. I'm not putting out enough. Am I not doing enough? Do I even need to do this anymore? And I had a guy reach out. Shout out to Fish, man. Shout out to Fish.
Shout out to Fish.
Fish was on the show. Fish shared his first step on the show a few years back. And really grateful for him to come on and do that, man. Took a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability in that, right? Like, dude did that. He was scared. And he did that. And he texted me. And he said, man, and we don't talk a whole lot, right? He'll text me every now and then. And he said, hey, man, I really appreciate what you do. You are helping me. You are helping me with this, man. And I really appreciate it. That was what I needed. Okay. Now the work on the other side is put those tapes to the side, Alex, because you're helping one person, right? And what do they say in recovery, right? Go help one person. Not one person daily, not one person hourly, one person. In my entire recovery journey, if I can help one person, this is all worth it. So now I got one person texting me. If this is the only guy that ever listens to the show ever again, I can hang my hat on what I'm doing on this show because I helped one person.
It was all worth it.
It was all worth that. So thank you, Fish. Shout out to Fish again, man.
Dude, if the viewers could see you doing sharing your experience, because one thing that I love about us, and I haven't sat in a lot of groups, not that I don't want to, but like we're all and by any means am I like taking any kind of credit, but we're just honest, and that's what the people appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Is the honesty that we have. I share my experience, not my advice, because my advice could send you in a direction, then you could jump off a cliff, so I try not to tap into the advice part, but to share my experience. If I don't know, I can give you a little inventory or suggestion inventory or whatever that may be. But like, other than that, man, my sponsor told me this, one of the most profound things I've ever heard. And I was going through it. And these are one of the 5 people that I asked, that I spoke of earlier. And one thing he told me, he said, Ricky, I don't know. I don't know what to do. That's profound to me. Mm. It still leaves me in the dark. Like that was the light that I needed. Even though it was so dark, that was the light that I needed. That was the response that I needed. He didn't know what to do. But I'm going to send you somebody who has that experience. What do you mean you don't know what to do? I asked you to sponsor me. You're like an idol. You're supposed to know it all, Mr. Wisdom. Mm-hmm. Mr. Guide me in my recovery. Mm-hmm. Show me how to live. It's God's prayer, not a sponsor's prayer. And so he led me to somebody, which led me to God, and God led me back to that somebody. And I eventually used, and and during that time I was seeing a lot of angel numbers, right? And
Mm-hmm.
555. That's why when I see 555 today, it just creates and means a change is coming. And we don't like change. And future events already ruined, So when I see those numbers today, I kind of like get tight. Not again. Like, are you picking on me? Right. And just because I do the next right thing and I'm a man of integrity and I do this doesn't mean that bad things and I'm not going to have my struggles. That's not what
Right.
that means. That's not what that means with my
Nope.
good sharing ass
Mm-hmm.
and like ain't had sex in almost 2 years and ain't been into a relationship and all that kind of stuff. Like, God, you owe this to me. Like he's some sort of like broker. Like if I invest in a God, I get just this great return. And I do. I do. The return is great because like the lady on the end of the line said, just wait. God says three things: yes, no, and wait. I didn't hear a yes. I didn't hear a no. I heard a wait on the other line. I asked for this cat. I prayed for this cat. And when I pray for something, I need to let my expectation level. I need to find some acceptance. And I waited. And I waited a couple weeks and there was Bob at the door or at the window telling me like, I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hear you. And I'm actually moving on your behalf right now. So what you think you want, that's not really even what you want. You just got this bright idea and you fantasize, Rick. Why not come back to reality and be with me? Like, be with me. You get with me. So why don't you just be with me? And to sit with God is uncomfortable sometimes.
It is.
It's so uncomfortable, but it's still a deep breath. Like my letters to God, I got this book on my desk at work and I write letters when nobody's around. And I'll write letters and I'll put people in it who I know are struggling and I'll be specific. And I'm not asking them for anything by any means, but sometimes I just vent because it's been a while since I've got this detailed with God. And I just vent. If they opened up my book, they'd probably be like, oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's my book.
Right. Yeah.
Not getting biblical, but it says go into a room, close the door, and go in secret and talk to God. I'm not one to go up and put my hands on your shoulder and be like, Almighty God. Like I'm just not. But I promise I get with God when I'm in secret in my car.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it is. I don't break the anonymity of the God I serve. And some people get offended by that, man. And ain't nothing like getting with God.
No. There's like,
dude, there's really not.
And even getting with God, I got that expectations, man, right? Like I love what you just said there. God says three things: yes, no, wait.
Yeah.
And like I can really relate to that recently, around this move or like I'll be honest, like I applied for a job, right? And
as you should.
And it got kicked back because like I didn't have the years of experience, right? I had everything else, but I didn't have it. And it got kicked back fairly quickly. Now this is like a corporation, that they're by the book. So of course, like my experience did not meet the requirement. One of these requirements, so I immediately got kicked out, right? And I remember going to God with this, going, okay, God, I got to give this up to you. And I remember hearing, there's been multiple times throughout my recovery where I hear certain things in my head, right? When I'm praying, and all I heard was wait. I heard wait. I heard wait. Okay. Whether that's my own head making that up, whether that's, right? I like to believe that it's my higher power talking to me. That's what I like to believe, because there's been other times where like my higher powers, right? Like, or like, for instance, so talking about like, I remember early on in recovery, right? Like my story is, this ex Patricia broke up with me and sent me into recovery. Hey guys, I just want to take a minute to share something deeply personal and transformative in my journey of recovery. I've been where you might be right now, struggling with the weight of addiction and feeling lost. But there's a place that offered me a new beginning, a place I truly believe in. It's called Begin Again Institute. At Begin Again, they understand the deep-rooted trauma behind addiction. Their 14-day intensive program for men tackles the neurobiological aspects of addiction head-on. It's not just about breaking a habit. It's about understanding and healing the underlying trauma that formed it in the first place. And for those who have been impacted by betrayal, Begin Again extends care to partners of addicts too. Their partner support program is offered at no additional cost to the family and runs alongside the men's intensive. This program helps participants gain an understanding of the trauma they've experienced and sets them on their own path to healing. If you or someone you love are grappling with sexual addiction, pornography addiction, or intimacy issues, Begin Again Institute can be that pivotal step towards recovery and a new lease on life. Remember, you can't go back and change the past, but it's never too late to begin again. To learn more about their life-changing program, visit beginagaininstitute.com or call 720-776-9076 to reserve your spot in the next 2-week intensive. I promise, it'll be the best call that you ever make for yourself. Stay strong, keep fighting, and keep tuning in to No Lions Here for more conversations about recovery, resilience, and hope. And in those moments, like, all I ever prayed for was for her to come back. That's why I'm doing this. Come back. I want her to come back. Right? And God said to me when I would make these prayers, right? Because again, these were the Santa Claus prayers. I love that you call that, dude. Like, these were the Santa Claus prayers. Bring her back, God, bring her back, bring her back. And I kept hearing, I'm bringing her back. I'm bringing her back. I'm bringing her back. Well, where does my head take that? My head takes that to, great, she's coming back. We're going to get back into a relationship and everything's going to be great, right? We're going to heal and all this is going to be good. Ooh. Well, she came back in a sense that we had a couple conversations. Like, she came back that we had in the sense that we had a couple conversations. There was some communication there, right? Which showed me she didn't hate me so much that she was willing to have some conversations with me. And things were discussed in those conversations, right? Did we get back together? No. Right? But God didn't lie to me when he said, I'm bringing her back. It wasn't for the thing that I wanted. There were some things that I got to look at in that, but like, she didn't come back.
What'd she come back for?
It's a good question. I don't know if I know that answer. Right? I don't know if it was, hey man, like, you're not as bad as you think you are. Right? Even though you've done some bad things, this person still saw some good in you. So now it's time for you to find the good in you. Maybe that's all that it was. Hey, Alex, this person saw some good in you enough that they were willing to come back and have a conversation that you asked for.
Greatness.
Right? So now, Alex, now it's your turn. Now it's your turn, man, to find that within yourself. So now you got to go on this journey and you got to find that for yourself. Because that's what recovery is all about, right? We talk about, I talk about this a lot with the clients. Like, we need to look at the things we've done and we need to look at the behaviors and we need to make them the amends. You know what we also need to do? We need to look at the good that I bring to the table. Because we all have it. We all have it. Right? So I'm praying about this job that didn't go through and I got kicked out pretty quickly and I was frustrated, right? Man, they didn't even give me a call. Right? Maybe I don't look as good on paper as the next person, but you get me in a room with you and I can sell myself. I can sell myself, dude, with my good charismatic ass, right? Like, you know, I can sell myself. And damn, they didn't even give me a phone call to even see how I sounded on the phone, you know? Because I can turn that customer service voice on real quick, you know? And so I had experience with that. And when I took it to God, it was like, and I heard wait, it was like, okay. Yeah, I'm good. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Give yourself a year. Give
myself the time, right? And so here's the other thing about waiting is, and the change that comes with waiting, right?
Come on.
Because you threw that word out there earlier and it spun something up in me. Is like, what if the change that I'm waiting for is the answer to all my prayers? What if the change that God is asking me to wait for completely blows my mind? Alex, I got these things in the works, man. I need you to wait, though, because you're not ready for it. And I'm getting you ready. I'm working on you, man. Right? God's got his chisel, dude. And he's it hurts, though. But he's chiseling the things off of me to get me ready for the next change. So, like, keep doing the work, Alex. I got things working that you don't need to know about, because if you knew about it, you'd take these in the completely wrong direction, because that's what I do. But Alex, these changes are going to blow your mind. But I need you to look at the fear that's involved in why you don't want these changes to happen, so that when the changes do happen and come about, you are ready to fully embrace these with gratitude.
Prepare.
But you got to have the faith.
I love that you said chip away, and it reminds me, They asked Michelangelo, who, created the statue of David, right?
Yep.
And they asked him, like, how did you create the statue of David? He said, I didn't create it. I just chipped away, and there he was. It just chipped away.
Just chipping
At
away,
the
man.
stone, and there he was. So we chip away, right? And like, I don't want to seem like I'm not waiting and moving at the same time, because there's still some movement. There's still moving parts on my behalf. There's still tangible evidence. The other day I asked God, if I get this, then show me a blue 6. One of those moments, like, again. And so I find myself
You're Santa Claus,
dude,
God.
blue 6, right? And so I find myself distracting myself from my reality and fantasizing about this blue 6. I just stay in the moment, Rick. There's good here. It's really good over here. If you just be still, there's good over here. Yeah, I get, and I don't want to like, and seem like any sort of like desperation on and trying to find like a partner or anything like that. But there are times where I'm like, man, I'm fucking lonely.
Yeah.
And like I think of this and I think of that, and I still hear the weight, like I'm preparing you, and scared to take a risk. Like I don't want to be distracted in the weight and just be still. I still want to take a little bit of risk, right? Because what if the weight is on my behalf? Like, okay, you've been waiting long enough. Like with your scary ass, move. I'm like, I feel a little push, right? So I get a little bit of vulnerable. I take a risk, right? And I wait for the response. Like there's still movement in the weight. Like I still got to
100%.
There's no such thing as a recovery like fairy. They don't knock at my door. I got to get out there and I got to see what's out there for me. I just do.
Like that's so it's like I get to ask myself, like, what's my part in this, right? Like, what's my part in this, right? If I'm going to God and I'm asking, right, and I hear wait, well, it doesn't mean to just, all right, God, I'm going to sit on my hands and I'm going to lock my door and I'm going to turn my phone off and I'm going to sit here until you knock on that door again.
Do not disturb.
Right. Do not disturb. But man, like I got to sit on my hands. I got to not do anything. Like, no, like there's movement in the wait, whether that's, all right, Alex, get back into your routines, right? Focus on,
Perfect.
right? Because there's that whole idea of like, all right, when I'm so unsure of what my next move is or what a decision is to make, how about I get back into my routines, right? Am I investing myself? Am I investing in my relationship with God, right? Am I investing in the relationships of the people I have around me? Am I investing myself in my body?
Or am I investing myself in this fear?
Right. So like, all right, when I don't know, I need to get back to those things, the simplistic things of, okay, Alex, what's your routine today? Yeah. All right, did you get up? Did you pray? Did you check in with another fellow addict? Did you get your exercise in today? What did you eat today? There's movement. Those are movements. It's movements. So like, but again, people think, well, waiting means no movement. No. There's always movement. Sitting quietly with myself, that's movement. Right? Because I'm allowing to move the feelings around and let things in. Like there's movement, man. I gotta keep moving.
Yeah, it brings up the F word. Faith. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Fear, false evidence appearing real. I can create this.
False evidence appearing real. That's another good one.
I can create this like dialogue. And I sit there, I live in it, I ruminate in it, and it just is so toxic because I'm so still and I'm moving, but I'm like so tight and I feel like a fraud and I feel like a fake because I put on this smile while I'm at work, but on the inside is so dark. And then I get the group and I seem aggressive because what's going on inside of me. And I'm just sharing my experience because I just, not in a toxic way, but like I can feel some sort of like some of the people are feeling intimidated. I love when clients come up to me and say, Ricky, what's going on? You're not you today. That's the kind of interaction that we have with them.
Yep.
Is they get to know us. We get to know them. Some things are, like I don't share with them. It's really none of their business, on a professional level. But at the same time, I got to understand that fear is my disease. It's my disease. If I want to do something, and usually that's when the fear starts to like really start to turn. Well, you ain't shit. You never been shit. You ain't going to do this. Why do you really want to do this? You know, like that's when it really starts to like kind of take over. And then I'm still. And here I am with my still having ass. Still broke. Still ain't shit. Still not doing shit. Still stuck. I want to still pray. I want to still believe in this process. I still want to trust. I'm still clean. Like I just have to combat it with this. Like for every good, when I did a 4-step, like the part I was stuck on in the flat book was the assets.
Yeah.
You know, and it was at the back right before step 5. And like I was stuck there, sponsor, I'm stuck here for, you know, a little bit. Like I'm stuck. Couldn't find anything. I thought the 4-step was like a baseball bat. I just get me. I get my patterns. I get my defects. I get people I resent. Why I resent people. Why? Because you're not responding the way I want you to respond. You know? Like I want help getting clean, but I also want you to help me get some dope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes.
Like I know you. So manipulation comes in. And those same patterns that I had when I was using, I bring into my recovery. It's still there. Old me is not dead and gone. I don't, that's cool. They made a song about it. You know, it's cool. It's in the hook of a song, the old me dead and gone. You know, it's cool. It sounds good. But like I speak of it like it's separate from me. It's just, it's here. I'm acknowledging it. I'm not running from it today. I'm scared today. You know, and just because I'm scared doesn't mean I can't move.
I don't have to obey that fear.
The mountain is me. The mountain isn't over there. The mountain is me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, no matter, even, like, I love what you said about, like, there's not much fear there when I'm frozen in it, right? And I'm not taking the actions. Fear comes when it's like, all right, I got to put some actions to this. That's when, like, the real fear bubbles up. Even if it is just getting into my routines, right? Even if it is just doing what I need to do, you know, that's when the fear really pops up.
That's when it wants me to like move backward. You know, like that's when it really wants me to not move. No, you ain't shit. You know, the echoes of the past. We talked about it before. The reason why there's echoes because it's empty. You know, there's just fill it up with some stuff. The first step leaves me with a void. So the second step, I came to believe. You know, that's something. Whether it was a recovering addict, whatever you choose to believe in, there's something working in this room. There's something in this room. We invite it in when we say the serenity prayer. And when we close the meeting, we invite it when we leave. So what I wake up, God's cool with the thank yous and the good mornings and thank you for waking me up and like all that shit when I go to sleep and blah, blah, blah. Like that's cool. But so I always reference it to this is that when we start a meeting, we open up with the serenity prayer. When we close with the serenity prayer. But where's God in between? Where is that God? If you stop talking to your significant other for a couple of weeks, what would happen? It'd be
just a massive wedge, a disconnect. Dude. Like there'd be some real it would not be good.
So
not be good. Not be good.
It'd be a different conversation. We might cancel this fucking podcast, you know, because shit is just fucked up. So that just reminds me, and sometimes it's the thoughts of God.
Yeah. It's like now it's to the point in my recovery where I am, even when I don't realize it, I am leaning on God. Right? Like God tells me to wait. Man, okay. Bet. I hear you loud and clear, God. No problem. I can do that. Right? Or no matter what happens, right? I have this faith that I'm going to be okay no matter what. Right? Because I know that no matter what I do, I'm going to invite God in. Am I always great at doing it right before? No, I'm a human being. Right? I'm a human being, right? I'm not a robot. God knows this, right? But I know that no matter what I'm going to go through in my life, I am going to invite God in at some point in time. And that brings me comfort today. That takes the pressure off of me, Alex, trying to figure it all out. I got to have it all figured out right now, right? But now I've invited God in and God's saying, wait. Well, he's in charge. So, and if he's telling me to wait, the person in charge, you get what I'm saying? That thing has, I'm hung up on words here. That guiding light has told me to wait. Alex, do you believe that that is all the all-encompassing guiding light in life? Yes. Yeah. That is the end all be all, right? And that is telling you to wait. Okay. I can listen. And I find comfort in that. Throughout all of these things, like, I'm really finding that, like, man, I like that whole conversation around, like, the whole point of my conversation with my partner was to say, hey, we need to pump the brakes here, is because, hey, I'm not relying on God right now. That's essentially what I was feeling, was I'm not relying on God, and I need to bring this thing back to God. That's why I need to pump the brakes, because I am putting so much pressure on myself that I'm pushing God out of my life right now. And I need to let God back in. Like, I'm like, dude, high-fiving myself. Like, good job, dude. Like, you're not trying to take this all on your own. Maybe you stopped and you remembered that God is involved, and that you're not giving God the time. Give God the time.
We go back to the amends, right? You talked about a little bit about, you had mentioned the A word, the amends. And we talk about fear, and I had to, not that it was mandatory, not that I do it because they suggested I do it. When you're doing something, when something's calling you, right? And just as God says to wait, so does my disease, right? We talk about fear. Sometimes I got to, it's all inclusive, right? I'm either in here or I'm over there, right? But as God's telling me to wait, so is my disease, because it wants to hold me back. We talk about fear, but I got to sit down with my son's mom and make amends, and I shared this with you, right? And everything in me was like, no, I think using's good enough, And I remember when her dad passed away a couple of years back, and I was in Springfield, and I had came up for the funeral, and this was the guy he was real big, in the city. He worked for the city for 40 plus years. Well, he ended up dying, but I'll never forget what he had sat down and have a conversation with me. And he said, man, I used to tell, I would have drinks at the bar with these cops, and these cops would tell him, hey, I'd give you a bag of dope, bad bag of dope that would take him out. So I'll give you this bag of dope. You just set it in the house, because I was living at his house at the time. He said, I can give you this bad bag of dope. And if he finds it and uses it, he's gone. So this was the same person, but loved me. Before, like, I was using, he loved me. I was like a son to him. And like, I always respected him because he sheltered me. He was some sort of a father figure when my dad wasn't around. But anyways, he ended up passing away. And no, I didn't go to the funeral, but I went to the grave, and I had a conversation with him. And I said, I promise I'm going to do the best that I can with your grandson. Fast forward a couple of years, I got to sit down with his daughter and make an amends. And it was the first time we had a conversation outside of my son, 6.5 years. Whatever. And I remember my sponsor suggested, after I make this amends, to ask her, is there anything else that you need from me? And I remember asking my son the other day, what do you love about your dad? And the thing that stood out, they say that innocent stuff, the love that you have, but the one thing that stood out, he said, you show up. And I show up even when I don't want to. And I remember he had a baseball game a couple weeks ago, and my son was like 0 for 5, right? And batting, because he's not that good. Like stuff we could tell ourselves, be honest, right? I'm like, man, maybe it's the baseball bat. Maybe I need to go spend $500 on a baseball bat. Maybe it's the glove. That's why he's not catching the ball, right? The things we do when we was little, the little shoes with the pump, maybe the shoes make me run faster, like all that stuff, right? And granted, they did. Like, there was some honesty to it. Like, I ran a little bit faster with some new shoes. And I remember going to that game where he was 0 for 5 in the previous game. And that was a couple games combined, the 0 for 5. And my son ended up pitching that game. And he almost pitched like a perfect game. And he was 2 for 3 at the bat. But it was the game that I didn't want to go to. And I went anyways. And I've never been so proud in my life. I just show up. And I got to show up to life even if I don't want to. And I got to address some things even though I don't want to address them. And what I don't address will continue to address me. If I don't address it, it will continue to address me. And I wanted to show up. The fear is that I was a little embarrassed because the other kids were hitting the ball and my son wasn't hitting the ball. And I was worried about what the kids' parents are talking about. Oh, here comes Lucas. Like, we're out, Like, so there was some fear there. Like, let me catch somebody talking sideways, right? But I showed up, and not only was I ecstatic and surprised as everyone else, but we were all cheering for him. And I'll never forget when my son hit the ball and pitched almost a perfect game. It was like one of those moments where everybody meets you at the plate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after you
Mm-hmm.
hit a home run or something, and they
Mm-hmm.
jumped on my son and they loved on him. And I'm like, man, if I would have missed
You
this,
would have missed it. Yeah.
you know, because I was tired, I was exhausted, work, blah, blah, blah. I would have missed it.
Yep.
But I show up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never, sometimes my son just reminds me of like what I lack to think of myself. It's just these like reminders, these post-it notes. Like, you are enough. You show up. You know, like, you're here. I've never missed a baseball game. I used to travel from Springfield to St. Louis to go watch my son strike out all the time. And it gets exhausting, right? But like, they didn't give up on me. And they continue to show up for me. And like, I would have missed that. And I don't have a picture with my son when he was born. We talk about the shame. You know, my son's going to question that. Like, where were you at when I was born? Why don't you have any pictures of me? So I take pictures today. And I don't know if you've seen me in my all staff, but I changed the picture that I put down, and it's my son swinging the bat. My son looks so good playing baseball. He's so good. And he just reminds me, I want to share this to the world, right? Not in a religious way, but my son, he reads the word. And my son's got 4 different highlighters for 4 different reasons when he reads the word. And he takes 20 minutes after school every day to read the word, and he highlights. And I ask him, why do you read that? He said, it teaches me how to live. We talk about a spiritual kid. There was something about him. When he was 6, he prayed for my sponsor who was passing away from COVID. He just prayed for one of my guys, his father who's on hospice. And he said, I just want a better understanding. Don't we all want a better understanding? Like, God, I seen you then, but I need to see you now. Like, you showed me Bob, you showed me the dimes, but I need a 6 now. You know, like, I need a 6 now.
Yeah.
So now I'm distracted by looking everywhere I go. Instead of right in front of me, I'm looking for a fucking blue 6. You know, what do you mean, God? Like, God's like, you don't need a 6. You don't need a 6, because if I showed you a 6.
If I showed you a 6 today, tomorrow you'd need an 8.
Dude, like, I gave you a boat. I gave you a helicopter. What else you need? Like, I'm here. So I get in my own way. And I want God to move on my behalf. But God's going to move on his behalf. That just is what it is. You know, like, I'm like going to buy a house in November. How am I going to do it? So I'm saving a little bit of money. You know, like, I got all these questions too, because, you know, like, it's no offense to Illinois Recovery Center by any means. But if you get in this field, you don't make a lot. You just don't. It is what it is. I didn't get in here to make money, but what I got in here for is exhausting at times, because you're dealing with all different kinds of weather.
Yep.
Dude, the forecast is crazy.
It is.
Dude.
It's all ever changing.
It's like Missouri weather. And I'm sure Illinois gets a touch of it because we're so close. But it's like, the forecast is crazy, and it can drive you nuts. And I can distract myself and not be involved in my own personal recovery, not start showing up for my own personal recovery to meetings and neglecting to call my sponsor, which I'm currently doing. Let me just be all the way honest. You know that.
Yep.
I'm sitting on a 9th step. Yeah, I've made some amends, but it doesn't stop here. I don't check a box because I made an amends to my son's mom. That's not what that means. What that means to me is that I made the amends, and before the amends that I made, I changed some behaviors about myself that led to the hurt, to the amends, the actual amends that needed to be made. I've changed some things about myself. I'm no longer spreading dis-ease. I'm not like, I don't create anxiety when I go into a room no more. I try not to. It's not intentional. I'm not hurting anybody anymore. But God, give me a break. You know, like, show me a 6. I'm not hurting anybody anymore, right? That's all I want is love. You know, that's all I want. Show me a 6. If you're on my behalf, like, if you're working for me, show me a fucking 6. Tomorrow will be 8.
It's that conditional, man, right? Like, it's that conditional.
Series heads or tails.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I keep getting tails and I want heads.
So I'm gonna move the goalpost now. Right?
Oof.
Because I didn't get what I wanted. What I wanted was a heads, and I got a tails. Well, now I got to move the goalpost. Well, now I want heads, and now it's best 2 out of 3. Now it's best 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Now it's best 7 out of 10. It does. It really does, man. And like,
I know.
it can just be, it can be so exhausting, man. Like, so exhausting, man. And you know what? Like, it is, man. It is.
But to be able to sit here and you just celebrated 1 year.
I haven't shared that on podcast yet, man. Yeah, what was it, 4 days ago? Celebrated 1 year of abstinence from my inner circle behaviors, right? I am 1 year sober, clean and sober in my S recovery, man. And you know what's funny about that, Ricky? I was sharing that within the group, what's interesting is, right, that's celebrated, right? Like, we celebrate that, right? Like, we celebrate it, right? Brittany's coming up. I'm about to take that name out. But she's coming up tomorrow, right? And she's like, I got this surprise for you, and we're gonna do some things. And I'm like, cool. But man, like, and I shared this in the group the other day. Like, man, I'm 4 years. There's like some shame there, though, man, that it's taken me 4 years to get to the spot of got a year. Now, a year is nothing to shake a stick at, man. Nothing at all, dude. That's a long 365 days of no porn, no masturbation, no hookup apps. Like, man, I didn't spend money on my addiction in a year, but yet I minimize because that doesn't feel good enough. If I'm in recovery, I better have, Alex, if you're telling people you've been in recovery for 4 years, but you've only got a year of sobriety in the program that you work, right? Yeah, I got multiple years in the programs that I don't work. The program that I do work, I've only got a year. And like, so there's some shame there that like, I get to look at it. Like, I get to look at that though and say, well, why is that not good enough, Alex? Why can't you be happy with just, man, I've got a year and I'm going to hang my head on that. And I know how hard this thing is.
Especially like, what's so attractive, and I ask you this, to be able to still be abstinent from that, be sexually active, and still put a hit on that alone, right? I thought of it before I asked you is, okay, he's using successfully, right?
Mm-hmm.
Successfully using. How do you address that? We say 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. Once I do that, right? We say like, once I take the first one, it's over. So like, how do you separate? How do you separate? Congrats on the year. That's you. Somebody couldn't keep this thing or that video off,
Mm-hmm.
I have to celebrate that. We're so good at minimizing our efforts and magnifying the lack until I get 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Until I get that amount of time, I'll sit in the back and I won't celebrate.
Yeah, I gotta have 30 days.
Yeah.
I gotta have 30 days to raise my hand and ask for a key tag, right? I'm not okay with sharing that I only have 5 days.
Yeah.
Right? Well, 5 days is better than no days, man. Like,
I remember when I couldn't stop.
Right? Yeah. I remember those days, man.
To be 365 all in a row, and there's some change there because it was Monday. Like, that's good.
It's amazing, man.
It tells me, because I hear you, right? It tells me that when somebody else says I only got, we address that. What do you mean only? But yet when it's my turn, I said, yeah, I only got a year. But let somebody say that, walk in the halls and
I was just getting ready to say, man, I push on people. 30 days, you got 5 days, everybody in this room better clap.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I push this on other people, but yet I can't give myself the same grace, right? Why is that, Alex? Well, because you work in the industry, right? Because you're a staff member, because you're a certified peer, because you're giving your suggestions to these people, right? Again, I'm rejecting myself in my time.
It's different when I got to take my own suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different ball game.
It is, man. It's a different ball game, and it's like, no, man, I need to, because you're right, man. Like, I'm using healthy. I'm still using my drug of choice. Right?
How do you separate the two?
One of the things, I think there's a couple things. One of the things is not buying into the lie that like I need sex every single day, because I don't, right? That's where I replace all of my needs for sex.
Yeah.
Right? If my only need is sex, then yeah, I need it every single day. Well, that's a lie, Alex. That's a lie. First and foremost, that's a lie. I don't need it every day to be content and happy and fulfilled, because because there's all these other needs that I need to take care of. The other part of that too is like the emotional intimacy piece of that, right? I feel fulfilled, right? If I take all of the emphasis off of sex itself, right? Because as we know, sex is a celebration. Sex is a display of my feelings for somebody else beyond the words and the emotions that I can put to how I feel about somebody, right? This is the physical display. I'm showing you this is how much you mean to me, right? So I got to start buying into that, right? So, and healthy sex is not empty sex.
Come on.
Sure, maybe it's not this mind-blowing, man, I just met this person, and so now there's anxiety and excitement involved, but man, it's so empty that I'm left with this depleted hangover of emotions. Whereas healthy sex actually builds up my emotions. It builds up the intimacy between somebody else. So like, I'm not going through this roller coaster of anxiety and excitement, guilt and shame. So even if the sex isn't completely mind blowing, that it still fills the cup. Okay, cool. Like, and I really try to make sure that like for instance, like a couple weeks ago, I was feeling, Beanie and I were dealing with some uncomfortable conversations between the two of us. And we hadn't like come to like a resolve yet, or we hadn't continued the conversation. So I went over to her house and I was feeling so disconnected from her that I told myself, I don't want to have sex tonight because I'm too disconnected. It would be for the wrong reasons as to why I would sleep with her. She was feeling disconnected too. And we didn't have that conversation, but we didn't have sex. And I was so happy that we didn't have that sex because I would have been doing it for the wrong reasons. So then the next day we ended up having the uncomfortable conversation. We didn't come to like a resolve around the conversation, but we had that conversation because we were both feeling disconnected from each other. So then after we had that conversation, we felt, even though there was no resolve, we felt so much more connected that then we were able to go and express ourselves in a physical way. So like when there's that emotional intimacy piece, man, and I don't feel the need to, right? Because when we're doing it in an impulsive and compulsive way, we're talking about the feelings that are involved, the anxiety, the excitement, right? Like, I'm not let down by those feelings after I have sex in a loving, healthy way because those feelings aren't involved. So now I don't have this void that I feel like I need to fill again with another exciting, anxious experience because I'm fulfilled.
I love it.
So yeah, that's how it's shown up for me in my life, is realizing, again, I'm not trying to make up, because the act of it's not empty, man. It's actually full of love and connection and nurturing. And like, now I'm connected to you.
Yeah. When I was in a relationship, I should say, I remember I would think about somebody else while we were.
I've had that experience myself.
And she would want to watch porn, and I'm like, man, I can't compare myself. No?
Or I compare them.
Mm-hmm.
I compare the person I'm with to this person on the screen. You're not doing it the way that person's doing it. Are you not into this?
Yeah. I just remember how toxic it was.
It
was very needy, it was impulsively, it was insecurity driven, when it was all said and done. It was just a matter of time until it disguised as some sort of safety, but it was only a matter of time until we were doing it again and I was feeling the same way. And then don't tell me no. Don't tell me no. Not that I'm going to take it by any means, but it's the place that I can go to. Don't tell me no. We don't like no. Clients don't like no. Certain clients. We don't like no.
We don't like no. Because what is no?
I like it yes. I don't like a wait.
What is no?
Yeah.
A no is a rejection.
Yeah. Well, just turn over,
come on.
Yeah, you just lay there.
Just come on. But then at that point, right? Like, so the idea of like, because again, man, and thanks for sharing I've thought about other people, because that's been my experience too. And you want to talk about shame, man. There's a Weekend lyric where he says, man, I just had it. I'll be making love to you through her. So let me keep my eyes closed. Like, when we think about sex and like the connection that it can foster, right? Because it really can foster a beautiful connection between two human beings,
Yes.
right? And if that's my mindset of, dude, I'm gonna make love to somebody else through you, but so let me keep my eyes closed. I'm not. There's no connection there, man. There's no connection there at all, dude. It's yeah, man. I appreciate you sharing that, man, because that's something that's like not talked about, right? I'm essentially using that person. I'm masturbating
Yes.
with that person's body, right? And then that strengthens the tape of people are put on this earth for my pleasure, and that you're just an object, you're just a vessel. I don't see you as a human being. I see you as a vessel. I see you as an object to get me off.
Using your body to masturbate.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
It is, man.
Yeah, a
and
lot
these
of
aren't
people
things
aren't
that we
talking about
no,
this, man. You know, it's
no.
touchy because some people are comfortable with it, with how they do. Some people are comfortable with the porn, and by all means, if you can get away with it, get away with it. But I just one is too many, 1,000 never enough.
Mhm.
If I'm not careful, I'll be doing that shit at work.
Oh, dude, yeah.
You know,
because that's been my experience, man.
yeah. So like, I'm just real mindful that it's a problem for me, and some people question, you know, that it's a problem for me. Well, you're just overthinking. No, I'm not. I found this. I found this out about myself through past relationships, through my 4-step, through sexual experiences. You know, like it's just, I found this information out, man, and I put it where it is, where it belongs. I set it over there. And recovery doesn't tell me that it's going to go away, but this is me without it. This is me. It's not so loud. But when we get quiet,
We got to get quiet.
when we get quiet, when nobody's around and the lights are off and the fans are moving and the fan is so loud is I can't hear my thoughts, but I need some sort of noise because when it starts to talk.
What I love so much about being quiet too is like you can't lie to yourself in that moment. Right? So here's one of my frustrations.
Here we go.
Here's one of my frustrations, right? Is I do this feeling wheel and I got to watch this, right? Like what's my part in this? And I got expectations is like when I give out the feeling wheel and we're going around the room, because I can remember my time in treatment. My time in treatment, I was absolutely terrified. The entire time I was there, terrified. Right? Terrified. So scared. Well, then I got people, I'm passing around this feeling wheel and people are like, I feel creative, hopeful, and loving. What? Excuse me? Okay. All right. Next. I feel powerful, nurturing, like, and peaceful. What? Okay. All right. Okay. And I'm like, y'all really feeling like this? Like, y'all really feeling that good? Like y'all are feeling that good. And it's like, man, some of y'all are lying to me.
And they might not be. I'm just comparing what's going on with me with.
Or like my situation, right? So then I make them sit with it, right? Like, hey, all right, think about the feelings you just shared and let's sit with it, right? And then I always ask people, all right, who wants to share their experience in sitting with their feelings, right? And then people will be like, I've had this happen multiple times where people will be like, I shared that I was feeling peaceful and powerful and, but then actually when I was sitting with it, anxiety kicked in. Now I'm more anxious than I was before. That just made it worse. Well, were you being honest when we asked to share the feelings? Because that's what's really going on. That's what you need to take a look at. What we need to take a look at always pops up if I can sit quietly. If I can sit quietly, it pops up. Again, I can't lie to myself in the silence.
Because I can manipulate honesty, but the truth.
I can manipulate it, right? I can put on a show for everybody else, right? Like I can put on this mask that tells me I'm fine, but really I'm freaking out inside. And so that's why I love sitting with it, right? Because then I'm like, oh yeah, right. And I'm not going to call them out and be like, well, you weren't honest when you initially read the feelings, but like you didn't get it. You didn't go as deep as you needed to there. In this thing, we have to go deep, right? We have to go deep. And yeah, it's totally about where I'm at too.
Well, also we're good at creating things that aren't there. False evidence appearing real, right? Fear again. So there's so many different ways to address it. Is so loaded, right? It's packed. Fear is just packed. So as we unpacked, I always say this, that you guys literally get a bag when you come here. Let's fill it. right? Let's fill it with some notes. Let's fill it with some literature. Let's fill it with some truth. Let's fill it with some feelings, and just because I can create something inside of somebody that really isn't there,
Mm-hmm.
like they might have felt free and peaceful at that time. I just wasn't. You know what I'm saying? It was just my shit. I was just trying to like some sort of like transfer it over, right? And project. And just because I'm stirred up, right? Now I'm gonna stir the whole pot. Now all of y'all are
I want y'all to feel what I'm feeling.
y'all are lying, But in my truth, what's going on inside of me is the truth.
Yeah. And I need to realize, and this is where I need to allow other people to be other people, is that we can only lie to ourselves for so long, right? So if you are, and let me back that up just a little bit, right? Because that's implying that I believe that everybody who tells me, everybody who shares an uncomfortable, everybody who shares that they are not as uncomfortable as I think they are, that they are lying, right? And I don't want to make that assumption, right? So that's me assuming, but like, if you aren't telling the truth with how you're feeling, those real feelings will eventually surface. Absolutely. And you will eventually have to face those. And it's not up to me to decide when you have that experience, because maybe you're not actually feeling that in the moment, but hopefully you've been listening enough to know, hey, when these things do pop up, because they are going to pop up, right? The human condition shows me and tells me that no matter what I'm dealing with in my life, these things are going to pop up. That, hey, I can remember, oh man, I remember what Alex said. And Alex said, I need to sit quietly with these. I need to talk about these, and I need to sit quietly with these. And even if they don't remember, again, out of my control.
Quietly. That's like been a hot word this podcast.
Quietly.
That's when the truth, like you said, and then I can like manipulate the honesty, but when I'm quiet, that's when the truth gives me an opportunity to reflect.
Yes.
It's when the fear kicks in. What do you mean?
Yes.
I gotta sit with these. I've been running from these my whole life. You guys told me not to use, and now you want me to sit with this? This is heavy stuff.
It is.
That's heavy stuff.
Oftentimes, sitting alone with myself is the heaviest work that I can do in a day, right? I can make these phone calls and I can talk about my traumas, and, and that's good, right? There's a time and place for that. However, some of the heaviest work that we have to do in all of this is just sit quietly. Because that's the hardest thing for me to do. I can talk all day long. I can talk. Sometimes the hardest thing for me to do is listen, to not only listen, but listen to others, right? Because I feel like I need to interject and tell you what you're not seeing, right? Because why? Right? Because I'm so big and bad that my only job here is to pick out what you're not seeing. So like I struggle with that sometimes, right? We recently had this conversation where like we've got a mutual friend in our life that at times that relationship has been very frustrating because I have tried to control what this person does. Well, this is what you need to do this, you need to do that. You're not doing these things that we're suggesting of you, so therefore you're still in a world of hurt. And I remember coming to that realization of, how about I just listen? How about I just be quiet and listen?
Somebody told me the longer you stay clean, the more grace you got to give to somebody coming in.
Yep.
Because that was me at one point. It took you 4 years to get 1 year. It took me more 12 years, 13 years to get where I'm at today. And thank God there was some grace, right? Yeah. Again, of course, like, thank God they didn't kick my back in, man. That was the last thing I needed. I kicked my own ass. I don't need you to. Times have changed. Well, this world we live in today is sensitive. I'm sensitive. I don't like rejection. I don't like no. I don't like to wait.
Like not knowing.
I'm addicted to certainty. So it allows some space for some grace. A safe place for some grace. And I have to give myself, there's rule number 62 in Alcoholics Anonymous, and it says, be easy on yourself.
Don't take yourself too seriously.
Don't take yourself too serious, Ricky.
Yep.
Come on.
It's
really? I think you say, is it really that big of a deal? No, like, I give my feelings so much attention. feelings aren't facts, but it's a fact that I'm feeling, right?
Mhm.
And the feelings can get me to some facts, right? Where I can
Mhm.
find out about myself. But the most important thing is feelings don't always tell the truth.
No, they
They're-
don't. They don't. There's a lot of times in my experience where it does not fit the situation.
It does not.
My reaction does not fit the situation.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It'll steer me into a lane just because even when I'm feeling good, bro.
Ooh, yeah.
Like it can steer me in a direction of, bro.
Yep.
It's not always the bad ones. The good ones are liars too.
100%.
Because I impulsively move because it feels good.
I'm doing well. I deserve this, right? I'm righteous. I'm righteous in those good feelings because I'm like,
it just feels right. Take a look at it.
Sit quietly with it.
Listen.
Right.
I hear you, right? I hear what they're talking about, but am I like listening to it?
Am I listening, right? Am I listening to understand or am I listening to respond? I want to listen. My goal is to listen to understand. Now I'm a human being, so sometimes I do listen to respond. How can I respond to this? Right? Because I've got some self-reflection under my belt. So when I hear somebody talking, right, like the things pop up in my head of what I want to say to them. But again, I had to catch myself this morning talking to a friend, talking to this friend of ours, right? Like, he asked me to guide him through some of this stuff. But yet at the same time, he's getting 10 opinions from people and doesn't know what way to go. And so I'm like, I started like giving my opinion on things, and I had to stop. And I said, hey man, would you like some feedback? I just heard you. You can tell me no, but would you like some feedback? Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please. All right, cool. Now I can insert myself, but I spent the time to listen first to try to understand what was really going on.
And this individual is always like, and it feels good, right? But he's like, man, you and Alex are like, I hold you guys to such a high standard. I don't know if he tells you that.
They told me that, yeah.
And I'm like, don't.
Hey, man, what I told him? I said, hey, man, look, I'm just like you, dude.
It's flattering.
It is. It feels good.
But don't put me on no pedestal because that fall is, if I make a mistake, I told you I was human before you put me up there. I shared with you. We had groups. You met with me 20 times during your stay. Don't put me on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. I've shared some like shit with this dude just to like relate, right? And so he can identify and not feel so alone. But don't put me anywhere. Don't put me anywhere I don't belong, man.
I'm not above you, man. I'm not below you. No. I am literally shoulder to shoulder with you in these trenches right now, man.
Humility is always the answer, man.
It is.
It really is.
It is, man.
For the new guy coming in to the old timer on his way out. And like what I mean on his way out is some people die clean. Yeah. Some people die like I always remember somebody told me this, and I'm gonna break some anonymity, is that Jesus taught me how to die. He taught me how to forgive. And if I want to be forgiven, I have to forgive. It's part of life. Or I can hold on to this for the rest of my life and continue to drag it in all my relationships and set these expectations on all my relationships. And when they don't meet the needs, I'm out. Well, I told you all about myself. I have to give myself some grace. I have to allow you to be honest, which opens a door within inside of me that allows me to be vulnerable with you. Not everything. Look, when I was in a relationship, somebody told me, stay out of the rooms. Not like not come, but stay out of the rooms in your relationship. Because people talk, people compare, people's got opinions, people got this, and it's like, oh my God, stay out of the rooms. We have therapy for that. You mentioned that. Like we have different avenues that we can take. I was so in the rooms and I would talk about what's going on in my relationship with the individual who I was going through it with inside the room, sharing my shit. Because that's what they told me to do, right? Because it felt like I needed to do it. And I was really doing more harm than I was good in my own relationship. Back at the ranch, it was gross. We'd walk by each other and wouldn't say shit. One of those, like it was just bad. I shared it in a meeting because they told me to. Well, I'm not even talking about it at home. I just want some sex. That's it. I just want to get off because it makes me feel better. And you look good when I go to a meeting because you're beautiful. And you're a good side piece. You look good on my arm. People look up to you and people want that relationship. And Rick, you're so honest and blah, 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 blah. You share your good ass off and all this shit, but I'm causing more harm. But my intent is to get better. There's different avenues. I've learned that dating within the rooms, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's because people want to know when you go through a breakup in the rooms, check check this out. People take sides.
I was just the word that came to my mind there was like it divides.
Dude, people take sides. And unfortunately, like a lot of people took the other side and I was left alone.
Yeah.
But I was left with people who genuinely loved me. And it wasn't the crowd that I wanted. I wanted the people that genuinely loved me, but I also wanted a crowd too.
Yeah.
I wanted to be heard. Like I can move a room. We've got that, right? That's cool. I can move a fucking room and make you feel good about yourself. It is what it is. But like, how am I living?
Yep.
Back at the ranch, it was gross. And I remember I would write gratitude lists and I would put her in there. I'm grateful for her. And I look back at those lists that I made. It was getting good, right? And like I would put her in there. I would do the 10 step that we did for 30 days. Yep. And they say, who were you grateful for? And I would put her name. And it's because she fucked me that night, you know? Like it was the motives, no? Like, and like, it was every sex session felt like makeup sex. You know, who do you want me to be? That's what they would say. Who do you want me to be tonight? You know, it felt like makeup sex. Not healthy, like you said. It wasn't, it was so empty.
The feelings were driving it, right?
It was so
I was doing it for the feelings.
It was the insecurity.
Yep.
My feelings were kind of lying to me at that point because it was like, dude, you need this. Like, go get that, right?
Yeah.
It'll lead me to,
I need this.
Dude, I need this. Ricky, you need
this.
to answer me. I'm calling you. And this makes you feel good. See, sometimes they're disguised, man. And it was every session felt like makeup sex. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
When we've had a big fight. And then I would go to a meeting and she wouldn't come. And when I would get back home, she'd be like, what did you share at the meeting? Did you talk about us? Yeah, I talked about us. I talked about how fucked up you were. You know? And she wasn't even really doing shit. These were my insecurities, just like pausing. It was destructive.
Yeah. And that's why I think there's the importance of like only sharing like my side of things, right? Like, what's my part in this? So let me share my side of things, you know?
This conversation is bringing up a lot.
Is it?
Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like things that I haven't really talked about.
Yeah. Well, like, for instance, like, you know, my partner was like, we're talking about like, what do we discuss on the show? You know, she was like, oh, I'm afraid that you're going to share bad about me. And I said, no, I'm never going to share anything bad about you. I'm going to share my experience. I'm not going to share your experience because that's not mine to share. I'm going to share my part in this. What's my part in this? Because we always got a part. Hooray for recovery, right? Ooh. Hooray. We always got a part. Well, I don't always want to look at my part, right? I want to make it somebody else's problem.
It's the quiet side I got to be on.
It's the quiet side I got to be on, man, right? Well, Alex, you spent your entire life blaming your problems on other people. How about we actually take responsibility and let me focus on my side, because there's always a my side. There's always a my side. What's my side? I can share my side. I can share my side. It's not my job to share somebody else's dirty laundry. It's not somebody else. It's not my job to share the trauma that somebody else brings to the table. It's not my job.
2 dead batteries can't start a car.
No, I can share my side, and I can be clean in that. Whatever my side is, I can share my side.
That's why it was so cool when I made amends to my son's mom, man. It really stuck to my side.
Yep.
Well, you did this and you did that. And it would cause, like, all that stuff was like the fear. False evidence appearing real. Like, it really wanted to keep me out of that seat in that coffee shop, drinking that coffee and making that amends. It really tried to, like, well, how's this going to feel on the other side? I left. I didn't leave. And I love that the literature. So this was my second or third round of steps, whatever. But like my first round, I made some amends. But this one was we're talking about 18 years, using to live, living to use, harming people, sleeping with other people, cheating on her, blah, blah. And like, when I left that coffee shop, shout out to her, man. She was so willing. She was like, what's your motive? You know, when I would ask, hey man, you want to go get some coffee? Like, why? What happened? You get somebody pregnant? You know, like all this stuff, right? But it was like, when I left there, I didn't feel so great about myself. What I did feel is I felt like I did the right thing because I stood on my side of the street. And I was real specific. If you need anything else, let me know. Just be there for your son. Play ball in the backyard. You know, like I do little things. I show up when I don't want to and I receive. Right? I receive when I show up. It just is what it is. That's my experience, bro. But I got to show up. I got to be in position. Like the position is really important, but not every door is the right door. Just because the door is open, it doesn't mean it's for me.
Right.
It's just not. Sometimes it's disguised. We talk about feelings. It's not my door, but it looks like my door. What I could see in the room, it looks like it's my shit. It's looked like what I prayed for, but it's really not, because I get into the room and now I don't even know how to be in the room.
Yep.
You know, but the hallway is important too. There's the hallway, the importance of the hallway, because there's some information in there. The yes, no, and the waits are in the hallway.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Well, this door isn't for me. It is what it is. This door just isn't my door. It's open, yes, I see that, but it's just not my time. Sometimes I go into places I'm really not even equipped to be in, but I ask God to put me in. They say, be careful what you pray for, because you just might get it.
You just might get it.
You just might. And you don't even know what to do with it. What do you mean I want it to get clean? I got clean. Now I don't even know what to do with it. Really? Are you going to stick and stay when it gets tough? Are you? Because them first 30 days, we always say like them, ooh, congratulations on 30 days, because it's fucked up. And then from 60 to 90 or 60 to 9 months or 6 months or 9, we get on this pink cloud.
Yep.
We feel good. And for every pink cloud, get you a pink cushion. That's what they said, because eventually what goes up must come
down.
You know, like we are recovering. I'm recovering from a mind that doesn't give a fuck about me. It tells me all kinds of stuff. And some of it's true, right? But I can't attach shame to it, because guilty tells me I'm guilty of it, right?
Yep.
I could stand in front of a judge and be like, yeah, you're guilty. But I sentence myself. Shame tells me that I am that. Like you are. You know you're not. No, you've done some good, Ricky. Like, look at the stuff you're doing. And I don't like to run on this, but you're helping others. You're making yourself available. You're visible. You're available. You're being honest. But like, where's your shit? That's why sometimes this job, it drive you nuts.
It will. That's why I asked you on the phone yesterday, hey, what are you doing for Ricky? What are you doing for Ricky?
Well, I'm going to the gym and I'm doing this and like
you were like, I'm making my gratitude list. Like, all right, man, that's great. Good actions.
Yeah.
What are you doing for yourself? What are you doing that's being kind to Ricky? Right? Am I allowing myself to? Sometimes I need to take a nap, so I'm going to allow myself an hour to take a nap. You know, or man, I've really been craving some McDonald's French fries. You know what? I'm going to go get some McDonald's French fries. You know what? Or man, I just want to sit down and watch this TV show. I'm going to allow myself to sit down and watch this TV show. What do you know? And I always kind of got to come back to that is like, am I being nice to Alex? Am I being kind? Because I can give it to all these other people all day long. But at the end of the day, can I give it to myself? And that's always a question I have to ask myself and I ask other people is, what are you doing for yourself today? What are you doing? What are you going to do for yourself today? And it's really simple, man. How about I just give myself some space to be quiet? Or maybe there's something that I really want to do, but I don't think that I can do it because I need to be doing all these other things. When it's really, I want to do these other things, but what I need to do is give myself a break and just hang out.
Yeah. I find out what recovery is in recovery. I just find out what it is. There's no like specific, the hospital terms, like the broken leg term or whatever that may be. But I find out about recovery and recovery. And it's my own experience about recovery that attaches a label to it. And that label is subject to change at any given time, just like the God of my understanding, just like the conversations that I have with God wouldn't make sense back then as much as they do now, because I'm further in. The further in I go in my relationship with God, the less I need. And I don't mean people. Not one time have I looked at my phone during this conversation. You know how long that's been?
It's right
it's over there. I'm going to leave it over there. It's over there. Yeah, my watch has been going off and stuff like that, but like it's over there. Thank God I got a break. I got a break from that distraction over there, and I got to have a vulnerable, honest conversation on where I'm at in my recovery.
Yep.
And nowhere in any kind of literature that I does it say, and that I have never found, is that I got to be somewhere with the amount of time that I got, or the experience that I have, or the principles that are offered to me in recovery. Just because I practice them doesn't mean I set myself up. I don't.
Sometimes I just need to be available for me.
That's it.
Right. I make myself too available to other people sometimes when there's times where like I need to make myself available for me.
What's that look like?
Not paying attention to my phone. That's a big one for me, right?
Huge.
Like when I'm with the partner down at her place, right? I make a point. Like last night, dude. So I make a point to not keep my phone around me. Or if I do pick my phone up, I don't look at it. So what if I'm missing a phone call from, somebody I'm working with? I'll get back to them.
Yeah.
But right now, what's important to me is what's right in front of me. And that is spending time with these people, investing in the relationships that I have. Right. So last night, I didn't go down to, I didn't go down to the partner's house this weekend. And that's okay, right? We're still seeing each other. That's all good. There's nothing wrong, right? Sometimes I need that. And she called me last night and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, I'm scrolling. I'm stuck. Now, was it like bad stuff? No, dude. It was actually, it's a bunch of fishing videos and cooking videos and just comedy stuff. It was funny. But like, I was just stuck. I had a hockey game on in the background and I'm stuck. So like for me, sometimes, like, especially when it's around the people that I love, right? I need to just put my phone down. Right? I don't need to. My phone's down. I need to not worry about who's calling, who's texting me right now. Like, because if those people are doing what they need to be doing, I'm not the only phone call they're going to make. They're going to make another phone call, right? It's so funny. Me and my sponsor all the time, right? Like if I call my sponsor, because he's always my first phone call, always my first phone call. So I call him. If he doesn't answer, all right, I'm moving down the line. I'm going to call this guy next. I'm going to call this guy next. So like, but there's been times where like I'll call my sponsor, he won't answer, so then I'll keep calling, and somebody else will answer. And now in that conversation with that person, now my sponsor's calling me back. You know what? I'm gonna let that one go to voicemail because right now I'm in a conversation, I'm in a connection right now. So I'll call him back after this phone call, right? So then we get off the phone, and then I call my sponsor back, and he doesn't answer. Well, because he just did the same. He's now on the phone with somebody else. And that's kind of how this works sometimes,
well,
right?
Then I got to repeat the whole conversation that I had previous to this. But the more I talk about it, the more it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more like, not that it's true, but the more feeling I attach by it, which I'm not always led the right way with the feeling that's attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like I have all these conversations. Call one. We're talking about somebody, me and he calls you, he calls me, he calls me, he calls you, and I'm sure it's verbatim.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
And it's like, it just shows, like, granted, it's not bad, right, to get a couple suggestions, right?
No.
But like, it can really spin you.
It can.
Like
it really can.
Like here I am talking about it again. I've just addressed it. Now I got to like be quiet with it. And it's cool to get a different perspective, but to call 5 or 6 people in a row and be on the phone with them, bro, it's going to spin my ass.
It's going to spin me.
Bro.
I'm oftentimes in a worse spot than I was before. And I love that, like you shared that, like yesterday, like I was your third phone call. Like by no means do I take any kind of offense to that, right? At all. But what that tells me is Ricky's doing the work, right? Ricky made one phone call. Rarely ever, if I pick up my phone to make one phone call, am I only going to leave with one phone call. Now, there's some days there are like that. Some days, yeah, I'm only going to call my sponsor. If he didn't answer, well, then I'm going back to the music, But typically, if I'm in a place where I need to be making phone calls, I'm going to make at least 3. I always tell people, like, 3 phone calls a day. 3 phone calls a day. Can you do that? Mm-hmm. Yes, I can. Now, am I great at that sometimes? No. Now, I'm also in a spot, I'm not justifying, but I'm also in a spot more in my own recovery where, like, things aren't so on fire that I need to make 9 phone calls, right? If things aren't right, and this is what I love about recovery is, like, it evolves, man. Like, I'm not so on fire today in my problems. I can actually take time to self-reflect and think about these problems because I know that my first reaction is not, well, now I got to go act out. I'm so on fire that I have to go out and act out today. Okay. Let me sit with this a little bit. Let me kind of just see where this goes.
I love it. I was at the gym when I received the phone call and I text back and I was like, man, I'm at the gym and My whole time in my head, I'm thinking your emergency is not my emergency. Like you got go on down the list. You'll be all right.
Go down the list. You'll
I'm
be
sure
okay.
it's the same conversation, like
Mm-hmm.
you struggling, you got one foot in and one foot out, and you're trying to use successfully over here, and you're trying to build a relationship with the God of your understanding and try to have this relationship with your significant other and blah, blah, blah. Like same spin, sometimes they just need to sit with that.
Just sit with it, man. Go do something that you can go be kind to yourself. Again, you don't need to take the entire Flintstone bottle. You don't need to take the entire bottle.
I love it.
How about we take the suggested dose?
Come on.
The suggested dose is 3 phone calls a day. Did I make those 3 phone calls?
Yeah.
I did. Okay, I took my suggested dose of medicine for the day.
Yeah.
Right? Now, sometimes I'll be like, well, I made my 3 phone calls and nobody answered, so.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's okay, I did my part.
That's what it looks like.
I did my part. Now I wait for the phone calls back. Right? But again, if I'm really in need, I can go deeper than that.
Yeah.
And there are days where I do that.
Yeah.
But hey, again, let me take the suggested dose.
For sure.
Because I don't need to take the whole bottle. Because when I take the whole bottle, I need to get my stomach pumped. Because I feel worse than I did before.
Yes. And that happens a lot. And the connections and the phone calls that I receive, how urgent they are. And I understand, again, we go back to what was suggested is the longer you stay clean, the more grace you got to give. And I love what you said. Like, so we just need to listen.
Just listen.
When it's my turn to talk, it's my turn to talk. Because sometimes what I say is they're not even like, again, listening to respond, not like listening. So I give them grace. It's new. You haven't experienced this yet. Keep coming back. Like they say, I can take you on this big old cliche run. It is what it is. It is what it is. I always go back to this story, and it's like a relationship. If I ask for something and I'm not doing the work, but I want to receive the results, right? We want the hard work we want the results without the hard labor, right? And it goes back to this story, and I shared it in a group yesterday, and there was this guy that wanted to win the lottery, and he goes to God, God, if I win the lottery, I swear I'll give the church 20% of the earnings. Lottery comes through, it doesn't win. So the next week they do another draw. God, if you let me win the lottery, I'll give you 50%. Just let me win the lottery. The guy doesn't end up winning it. And then the third week comes and he goes, God, if you let me win, I'll give you 80%. I'll take 20. And so he doesn't end up winning. Somebody else does. And he asks God, like, why didn't you let me win? He goes, you didn't even buy a ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't even buy a ticket. We want that's what we want, right?
Yes.
That's what I want.
I want the reward without the work, right?
Because I got one foot in and one foot out. I don't even really know what I want, but I really want to be over here, but I'm attached to this over here. How do I get from over here to over there? Spinning, man.
Spinning. And then that's where don't take more than the prescribed dose, right? Don't take more. I don't need to take more, right? Because more is not always better. And then let me take the time to just sit with this, man. Let me just sit with it.
I took one.
Let me listen.
All I needed was one.
All I needed was one.
I didn't need all that.
I didn't need all of them, man. All of them just made me worse. Oh, shit.
I ended up in a hospital.
You ended up in a hospital.
You know?
You just take the prescribed dose. You're doing all right, right? Like, this is what I just want to tell people something, man. Hey. Tell me, right? Ooh, good. Thank you.
Because I'm going to tell me the same thing.
I need to tell me this, man. It's all good. You're taking the prescribed dose. You know what happens to you when you take too much. Just take the prescribed dose and just listen. Just listen, get back into my routines, and it'll be all good.
I got to tell myself I love you.
I love you, man.
I don't know how many times I've looked in that mirror in the bathroom and told myself and looked at myself and said, I really do love you,
Yeah.
Like I really do. And I want to get to know more about you. My son prayed. He said, I just want a better understanding because I'm having trouble understanding you. I just want to better help us understand you. I just want to understand. And not to my liking, but I just want to receive, let me perceive. I give. Can I receive? I think I know how to love till I find it and I don't know what to do with it,
That's where it's like, let me receive myself.
The person I'll always be in competition with is in the mirror.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
Always.
That's my biggest supporter. It's my biggest enemy.
It really is.
It's everything. I am everything to me.
When it's just me in that bathroom. Or whatever mirror. But I mean, that's a quiet bathroom. I was just in there not too long ago, and it was quiet. I sit to pee. I just said it on
me too
on podcast.
You're not alone in that. I do too.
Right. And like
Less
it
mess.
was real quiet. And I looked in the mirror. I said, "You're enough, and I love you.
Amen.
Like you're doing the work."
Yeah.
There was this counselor in Florida in the treatment center that I went to, and after he did a session, like a process group, he had this wiffle ball bat. And if you beat up on yourself the rest of the day, you had to walk around with that baseball bat, and you couldn't play with it. It wasn't about, we're going to play some wiffle ball. This bat indicated that you beat yourself up. And so what we had to do as, clients, we just had to love on them. If spiritual problems would materialize, like how many people are really holding the bat? It was good shit. I thought about doing it here. Who's carrying the bat today?
Yeah.
No, we can't. No, don't pick up a ball. That's not what that is. This bat is an indication that he's beating up on himself. Let's go love on him. False evidence appearing real. Maybe he's stuck in the future, right? Future events, what?
Always ruined. Already ruined.
Already.
And
I'm not even there. But it's Christmas is what?
Canceled.
Bro. If I treat God like Santa Claus, Christmas is always canceled.
Always. Take it off the calendar.
Take it.
Take it off. Take it off.
Face everything, recover, fuck everything and run. All that fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's fear.
It's fear.
It's the core of my disease, the disease of addiction, is self-centeredness, right?
Yeah.
The core of the self-centeredness is the fear of the unknown.
100%. Yep.
The core of the core.
Yep.
There's layers. We talk about onions.
There is. There's layers. There's layers, and it's all fueled by fear, right?
Tell me somebody who said they're not scared, they're full of shit.
Percent.
Come on.
Percent.
Come on, human.
Human. We are human.
Yes.
Right? Doing the best that we can. Mm-hmm. Full of fear, even though we're full of fear. Full. Now, because I'm full of fear, right? So now let's kind of flip this on its head, right? Because I'm full of fear and because I'm still moving forward, it means I have courage. I have courage today. Ricky, you have courage today.
And I'm activating some faith.
I got faith and I got courage, and I have the data that shows me I have those things, and that I practice and that I walk in those things. So let's highlight those things.
Those are the highlights, man.
Let's highlight the courage and the faith, man. Good stuff.
It's good conversation.
This is good stuff, man. I think we're at a good spot. We got an hour just with this one alone, right? Because we had some technical difficulties. We're sitting at an hour and 56 minutes.
Let's go.
So
wrap it up,
man. Ricky, let's go stretch after that.
It always feels like Halloween here, man. It's a treat.
It is. I was like, oh, where's it going with that?
It's just good to sit down with you. It always is. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget the one little. The one thing the person said on one of our previous is that you two together, Yeah. If you two together.
This is good, man. This is good. I was so excited to have you back on, man. I was a little nervous about the technical side of things, right? And, well, you know what? There's some things that are out of my control. Man, we got through this, dude. And I appreciate you, man.
I love you.
I love you so much. I appreciate you, man. Like, you're somebody that inspires me and motivates me, man.
I'm excited to continue. I'm excited for what has happened, what's yet to happen, yet to come. Like I just try to stay as close to you as I can, So the closer I am to the recovering addict, the further away I am from a relapse. So I think I'll stay.
Stay close, man. Amen, dude. Let's stay close.
I love you.
I love you too, man. Yeah, thanks so much, everybody, for joining me on this journey, man. If you liked what you heard, man, go drop a comment in the comment section, man. Give us a like, a subscribe, man, all that good stuff. And even if not, man, thank you so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. And as always, keep coming back. It works if you work it, and you're worth it. We'll see you guys next time.
The backward hat boys
are out.